not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on Monday, June 9th, 2025. Hello. As always, we are presented to you by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, clear, risk-free advice. And the best part is you don't have to worry what it costs. You have to worry about a down payment or a consultation fee. No, friends, you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice 24/7, 365. And boy, what an epic 4 days in sports. Obviously, over the weekend, the House settlement gets done in really, I think it changes the sports landscape. Professional and college or amateur sports, like I don't know that we've been amateurs in college athletics for some years, but I feel like people over the weekend were not prepared or hadn't thought about this moment in time that we've been telling you it was a fait accompli. It was done before it was done, long before it was done. And I feel like people had this reaction where, oh, the world's ending. Now what? Like, this should have been no surprise to anybody, in my opinion. Like, you knew this was coming. And the idea now that, well, it's just going to be the Wild Wild West. What has it been for at least 2 years?
Yeah, seriously.
It has been the Wild West for at least 2 years. I don't feel like, and I guess this is contrary to most people's opinion, I don't feel like this is a seismic change that just happened the day that the judge approved this. That Judge Wilkins signed that document and it's a seismic change. I don't think people are going to change the way they're doing business. And I look at the way that certain programs have been reacting to this. Greg Sankey had this ready to go the moment that the judge signed the document. You start listening to listening to the way that Greg Sankey was talking at SEC spring meetings with the media. Like, I mean, there's no question that when you listen to his voice and you hear him talk, like, you understand that in this bite I'm about to play for you, where we were talking about the college football playoff, and college athletics has been in a constant state of change, and that has not been easy for anybody.
The process of change is really exciting at the start. It's like running a marathon, which I've done a few times. Every time I've ever run a marathon, you can't sleep the night before. You're up early. You're at the start line. The start of anything is really exciting. And you go through that, and then you get to the end, and you see, running down Boylston in the Boston Marathon, or in Central Park in New York City, or crossing the river in Missoula, Montana to finish there. I mean, it's exciting, right? There's a finish line, the start and the
and we're at the finish line now, right? It's over now. Now we figure out who's got business acumen and who doesn't. I mean, you listen to, and I think this is a big conversation now. I think one of the singularly biggest conversations is, can the G5 survive? Can they thrive and survive and compete with the P4? Because I think when you listen to Boise State talking about how, oh, we're going to have a private equity deal done in 6 months, bro, 6 months might as well be a decade. Do you understand how far off into the distance 6 months is? And it feels like Boise State hadn't been working on this, that this House settlement comes out and Boise State, who is supposed to be the world beater. And if one more Boise State fan tells me we're going to the P4, let me tell you, the upper echelon of the P4 already has plans in place. If you're waiting 6 months to try and just make a deal, I don't know how you survive that.
Yeah, well, I just don't. I think your best point is that this. It's not like this was some surprise, or that this was like some dealing that happened in the middle of the night and now everyone's got to react and kind of scramble. I mean, we've been talking about the House settlement for how long? And
years.
I think it's a situation where, I don't know if it's like, like kind of public posturing, if you will, or like there are strategies around this inside these athletic departments, but I don't understand, why these schools feel the need to comment that it's going to be 6 months from now, or like, why is it not today?
Yeah.
Like, why is it not yesterday? Why is it not as soon as possible? I like the idea. And again, my goal today is not to sit here and rip Jeremiah Dickey, the athletic director at Boise State, but I truly don't understand why you would come out and say it's going to be inside of 6 months. Like, just say as soon as possible, because that's the reality of it. And unfortunately, like, that kind of sends the message to me anyway, that we're not preparing for this, or somehow that you were not, like, I mean, obviously they were expecting it, but it's almost as if you weren't expecting it so soon, or like you were surprised that the timeline, was what it was. And that's where I struggle with this, because you're talking about an athletic director of a prominent institution that just committed to changing conferences, and going to a conference that isn't even an official conference yet, technically, not coming out and talking about revenue sharing. No, we're not going to talk about revenue sharing.
No.
We're going to talk about, private equity deals and what we can do that way to sort of send the message that we would be interested in revenue sharing, but we can't comment on it at that time, or maybe we're unwilling. And that's what I don't understand, because, I look at the stance that Utah, as an example, has taken with this House settlement situation. You can look around college football, but I think Utah is the best example of this. Bro, Utah has got a whole statement that they've rolled out,
ready to go,
ready to go, like dialed up. And the most fascinating portion of the statement, in my opinion, is this concept that they're talking about, the fact that Utah, and Mark Harlan in the statement has said, Utah is going to spend the max, or the word he used was invest. I shouldn't say spend. He used the word invest, the maximum amount that they can into this, in improving the point that, or making the point that, we're going to be as aggressive as possible. We're going to embrace this. We are going to be fully committed to this.
We're leaning in.
Yeah, we're leaning in. And I think that that's the biggest difference that I see in terms of divisiveness with this, is that you have institutions like Utah and many others that, that are leaning into this. Absolutely.
Through our existing Elevate U program, we've increased our investment with the addition of a brand strategy and governance team dedicated to providing Utah student athletes comprehensive support as they build their brand, enter into non-exclusive contracts for limited use rights for NIL and profit. And you look at the very first paragraph, as Jake mentioned, we're all in on investing up to the maximum allowable in revenue share, which is approximately $20.5 million.
So the stance is, at least as far as Utah is concerned, the stance is not only are we embracing the new realities of college football, but we're going to publicly take the stance that we're fully committed to supporting our student athletes, to this verbiage about helping student athletes create their own brand. I think is fascinating, because when you think about like, if you just look at quarterbacks or college football players, we criticize. I remember all the heat that Jackson Dart got and that Arch Manning got when they did the NetJets deals, right? When they had NIL deals surrounding NetJets, and everyone's like, oh, why do college football players need private jets? Why would they need that? Why does Shador have this big ass watch on his wrist and the Rolls Royce? And I remember
NFL people hate that.
Yeah, NFL people think these kids are terrible and Shador's an asshole and he's way too in your face, yada, yada, yada. I remember all the laundry list of bad stuff you said about these people and these kids. And all I'm saying is that needs to change now. Because if your quarterback or your, best player, or maybe the better way to say is most high profile player on your team or in your athletic department is not doing NIL deals and is not making a bunch of money, you're doing it wrong. And that's what I think that as fans and as observers, we have to get our hands around, is that at some point, you got to be good with the fact that these kids are individual brands unto themselves. It's not, it is Utah football, but within that, who are the big brands inside the program bringing in revenue to the school? That's what I think we need to, get more comfortable with, that concept.
Yeah, and again, I just go back to, can the G5 survive? I think it's a huge question. We show you varying tweets. I mean, this is Utah's tweet, right? About, hey, we're all in. They had this prepared statement, all this new money. We are going $20.5 million in revenue sharing, the maximum. And then, as we mentioned, here's Boise State. Here's the story about Boise State actively considering bringing in,
again, what do you mean
private equity?
Actively considering?
Yeah, what does that mean that you're actively considering? What it means is you don't have a plan in place and you don't have a private equity deal in place. It's the difference between operating at the highest levels of college sports and thinking you operate at the highest level of college sports. Doing and considering are two very different things. And it terrifies me for programs like Boise State, who by any measure is one of the elite small sports programs in this country. I think you look at football. I think you look at a basketball program that probably doesn't get the credit it deserves. But this is why. Because you don't have plans in place and forecasting, and you go to somebody like Utah, who again, by any measure, is not one of the biggest revenue programs in the country. Nobody's ever going to accuse Utah of making the most money. Nobody's ever going to accuse Utah of being out front on NIL, being an industry lead. Nobody's ever going to say that. But yet, when the House settlement comes down, you have your athletic director and you have your NIL groups and your student athlete revenue generation system at a school known for being behind the curve. You have it all teed up and ready to go.
Yep.
That tells you that these games are not played on level playing fields. And I understand that, conferences like the American, the Pac-12, the Mountain West, you want to talk about equity. How on earth is the Pac-12 going to ramp up fast enough? You don't have a grant of rights, a TV deal. You don't have media rights distribution. And you're supposed to have private equity and an NIL strategy and a revenue sharing strategy. And that's the challenge of being a G5. And then you hop into, well, hey, we're expanding and adding all new teams. And you're just playing from behind the curve.
Yeah, and I feel like the House settlement puts schools at every level, not just the G5, but at every level, in a position where they have to be out for themselves more than they've ever been. I mean, you think about, you think about the disparity between the lower end Big 12 school versus the school that's competing to win the conference versus a bottom end SEC school. Like, these schools have to come up with their own unique ways of bringing in revenue to the athletic department to afford this. And,
yes.
And so the thing that surprises me that most people are not talking about, like pundits and things like that, is that this really is no longer a mechanical X's and O's conversation. This is a philosophical conversation that will lead you down one of two paths, meaning, the philosophy that Utah clearly is embracing and utilizing is clearly not the same philosophy that Boise State or other schools in that philosophy are using. And people complain for gosh, I mean, it must be, years now since doing this show about, the SEC's got an advantage, or Ohio State's got this advantage, or Texas, or, the Blue Bloods have this big financial advantage.
Yeah, dude.
Do you think that that's going to get better? Like, do you think that the House settlement mandating that you need to opt into revenue sharing at a level of $20.5 million, do you think that that's going to bring schools closer together financially? Because if you think that, I'm just telling you, you're not correct. This is going to divide the sport. This is going to say, okay, the folks who are in revenue sharing and are committed to that are also those same brands in same schools that likely are going to be interested in going on to things like a potential Super League down the line. Like, this is a proving ground for who's got the money.
I will even go a step further than that. We're forming the Super League right now. This is the first step. Getting the House settlement signed and approved by Judge Wilkin was the first step to creating this new entity. And you start hearing about this new enforcement stuff, and you start hearing about how, hey, who's going to be the one that is in charge of making sure that this is handled correctly, and that the wild, wild west of NIL doesn't continue. Because, again, as I've been telling you for 18 months to 2 years, it was the wild, wild west. Quite literally, bagmen came out of the shadow and still had the bags full of cash that they were handing to athletes. And you start looking at this College Sports Commission, which is an independent body that will be responsible for implementing the settlement terms governing revenue sharing, student name, image, and likeness. Like, you start reading this and you understand the NCAA truly is at the end of its road.
Mm-hmm.
We are going into a time for football. And I think that's an important distinction for football, where football is going to be its own entity. Call it a Super League, call it what you want. And I think one of the things that's really interesting is you look at this conversation about G5s and who can afford it and how many teams are going to be in this new entity or this Super League. Well, that's going to work itself out, because I am telling you, there are the probably bottom 20% of the P4 are not going to want a revenue share.
No.
How many of that 20% will revenue share? I don't know. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
But is it probably true that a lot of this revenue sharing in the P4 won't happen? I think that is a very small likelihood, tiny, minute, 1/10 of 1%, that every P4 school opts in. We are going to have P4 schools that are like, nah, we could, we're not gonna.
Yeah, and I think want to is a perfect way to describe it. I mean, and this is not unique to college football, right? I mean, in life, you have those people that in your life who want to do certain things and they don't want to do other things. I mean, that's how we work as people. And I think that universities that have athletic departments with power football clubs are tasked with deciding what path do we want to go down here. Because if you don't revenue share, that's going to crush your football program. But can you afford that in your athletic department? Versus, hey, well, if we do revenue share, that's going to cost us $20.5 million that, frankly, we don't have. So excuse me for wondering, why in the hell is it going to take 6 months to do a private equity deal from today? Why does it take that long? Are you telling me that it's that complicated to do a private equity deal for a college football program or a school? Like, obviously it's a new thing, and I understand that people got to get comfortable with it. But bro, 6 months by business terms is a long time. I mean, I could understand 6 weeks. Like, hey, you got to hammer out numbers and, there's paperwork and process. Okay, cool. I get that. But 6 months, for me, that feels like a really, really long time and feels like you're dragging your feet, especially as a school. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful fashion, but especially for a school like Boise State, that's at the G5 level, that clearly, and I don't even think any of us disagree on this, clearly has aspirations of being a power school at some point, right? They obviously, I'm just assuming that part of the mission with the Pac-12 move is to try to walk a path that leads you back to being a power conference / power school. But the point is that, bro, if it's taking you 6 months to do private equity deals, like, what is the decision-making process on trying to revenue share? That's my main concern with schools that are in Boise State situation or a power school that's at the bottom end of a conference that maybe isn't super passionate about it. Because we've all been sitting here saying, okay, well, what about these low-end Big Ten schools? What about these lower-end SEC schools? Well, here's the deal. What do you think those schools have been doing for the last 5 years or 4 years or 3 years? They've been sitting here stockpiling their money, not being good at football, but getting the big TV checks so that they can afford to do this.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time, I think, and until this happens. Because I got to be honest with you, I was talking to, some TV people today about the future of college sports. I think the real line in the sand, if you will be where TV money goes. And there's a lot of people who think the TV money is going to come down, but private equity and sponsorship deals are going to skyrocket. And that's going to make people more money, because I do believe that at some point we see TV partners do in college football what they've done in the NFL, which is take an active stake in the sport. Because if the NFL fails and fewer people are watching the NFL, well, who's making less money? Everybody.
But what's the only way that they can actually do something like that?
Well, you're going to have to form a new entity that has
rules
antitrust
and
exemptions. Yeah. And you're going to have to be able to control movement of players.
Because I can tell you right now, they're unable to do that with the size and scope of college football, which is one of, frankly, it maybe not even one of. I feel, in my opinion, that's the core issue for college football specifically, is that you have so many schools and obviously so many teams involved that there's no way to kind of streamline the process or bring in private equity, which is why you're hearing so much about super leagues and forming a new entity inside of it, and trying to have antitrust and rules and regulations, so that they have to do that.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I am sitting here chatting. So let's transition real quick. We'll come back to this because we do have some breaking news. Now, you guys know that we don't like to tell you I told you so on the show. Right? Like, we don't like to tell people. And Pac-12 supporters lost their minds when I said, well, hey, the only thing left is for the new members and all of the new Pac-12 members to sign their grant of rights and create a conference, because they don't even have a new conference, right?
Pac-10.
And we felt like that would happen over the weekend. We were wrong about that. I think I said last Tuesday or Wednesday, hey, I've been told it's going to happen this weekend. I was wrong about that. Ross Dellinger's reporting it happened today. That the newest members of the Pac-12, along with Washington State and Oregon State, have signed their membership agreements and have signed their grant of rights. And just texting with a TV person, it is expected that a deal very similar to the one that was christened recently by the Pac-12 will take shape, and the Pac-12 should be able to announce a TV deal this week. Industry sources have told me that the Pac-12 could announce a new media rights distribution deal as soon as this week. Now, we'll see how that plays out. That feels aggressive to me. I would assume that you are going to add another university before you announce that TV deal, because remember, and I think this is really important so that Pac-12 fans don't lose their mind, you have to get one more full-time member, full member who plays football. Texas State and its massive traveling ticket sales operation.
Yes.
If that's Texas State, great. That's a huge win for the Pac-12. it almost doesn't matter who it is as long as they get one more full-time member that plays football. That's in my mind, that's the next step. And then once that agreement is announced, then I think you can announce a media rights deal. And I think it feels like this is going to come together very quickly now that the House settlement is done. Because I think that was a major roadblock in, hey, A plus B equals this is how much money we're going to take home every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you are operating at the Pac-12's level, the Mountain West level, the Americans level, you have to know penny for penny, not dollar for dollar. You've got to know every penny and every decimal point of how much money you're taking home. And this is the first in a line of a bunch of good news that should be coming out for the Pac-12. This should be a week of really good headlines for the Pac-12 conference. If you are a Pac-12 fan, this is the beginning of a run of good news for you. And I think when you look at mediation, I would expect to get a mediation update in the next several days as well. A source close to that situation told me that there's not a lot of heat or vitriol at the table. They're just trying to hammer out the finances of getting this settlement done. And I think that this is a big move forward for the Pac-12. I think it's a big move forward for the mediation process because you have it signed, sealed, and delivered, which was always, again, I keep using the word, but a fait accompli. Like this was always going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, kind of confirming what we reported last week, that we expected a membership and a grant of rights deal in the new conference to be signed over the weekend, because this essentially creates the new Pac-12. I don't know how many people realize that. Yes, the Mountain West members, the Gonzaga, left their conferences, but to do what? They hadn't joined anything. The membership agreements form the conference. The grant of rights, which is a separate document, right? Because the membership agreement is one document. You assigning your home media rights to the Pac-12 to go and leverage in the marketplace is a separate document. You had to get the membership agreement in place, sign the grant of rights, add another member. I would expect in the next, I would think 10 days, you're going to have a new member and you should have a TV deal. I would expect that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it'll be curious to see, all jokes aside, what do the JD Wickers come out and comment? What do the Jeremiah Dickies of the world come out and comment? Like, it'll be really curious to see, what the outlets in the Pac-12 or the newly formed Pac-12, come out and say, because I think one of the biggest things, and I'm just going to keep saying it, like, I don't feel like the Pac-12 has done an amazing job or a great job at controlling the narrative around what's happening. I think that, it's difficult for people, to control JD Wicker. I think he's just shown to be, respectfully, a bit of a loose cannon with what he says. And so I don't hold that against Teresa Gould or Pac-12 leadership, but I think at some point you got to come out on video and talk about like where you're at with things and what, like, obviously we expected you to get a media rights deal done. We expected the members to sign. We expected these natural steps to take place because they're natural steps in your process. Like, so this, once again, is not surprising. But my question is, once this gets done, what then is the next thing? Because I still think that once you have these steps done, you still have to go out and now execute on the finances of the conference. I mean, you still have to figure out, obviously mediation is still occurring. We still have to figure out what comes of that. What kind of discount did you get, or what terms did you negotiate? Because I feel like, and you've been saying this, you said this a lot last week, like they've kept it pretty quiet. There haven't been leaks on it. There haven't been any type of, reporting on it. So they're keeping it pretty sealed. So the question is, what kind of discounts do you get from that? And how do those discounts affect the conference moving forward?
Yeah.
Because we know for damn sure that this conference will be definitely participating in unequal revenue sharing inside of the conference.
Certainly.
So that's my question is, what did you promise Boise State? What did you promise Gonzaga? And what did you promise San Diego State? Those three schools inside of this conference, those three being happy, in my opinion, is what will allow this conference to, from a business standpoint and a political standpoint, do well. If those three are happy, your conference should be fine. Now it just comes down to winning, and it comes down to being in the postseason, getting your shares, and some way, somehow, getting back to, and I don't know how this is possible, or if it even is possible, given everything that's going on, but trying to get back to power status, having an AQ, which I don't think is going to happen. But
I don't think that will happen.
But I think that's kind of, I have to imagine, again, I'm just speculating, but I have to imagine that leadership in the Pac-12, has talked about that with all its members, that would be their goal at some point.
Yeah, and I just don't think that is a conference initiative. I think it has to be an individual university initiative, because I don't again, and maybe this goes back to Boise State, but what are you going to say if you're Wyoming, if you are any of the smallest G5 universities? How do you make a case to your leadership, to your donors, to your boosters, not in the sports programs, at the university level, the educational money, the people who fund your ability to educate, that you are going to spend $20.5 million every year paying your athletes at places like Wyoming? I just don't know how you do that at North Dakota State. I don't know how you do that at Fresno State, which is a state school that struggles financially. I don't know how you do that if you are San Jose State, right? It's very difficult if you are Oregon State and Washington State to cough up $20.5 million every year to pay athletes. How do you think it is for North Dakota and North Dakota State? How do you think it is for these smaller entities? And I understand that fans of the Mountain West and fans of the Pac-12 get pissed at this show on a daily basis every time we talk about this.
Right.
But I will continue to tell you, you can't afford to compete. That's it. That's full stop. You can't afford to compete. So unequal revenue sharing, I'm telling you, and we've talked about this how many times?
Many times.
When we look at this TV deal, look at the new Pac-12 TV deal I've been telling you about for weeks and weeks. It is going to be a large proportion of it will be streamed. I don't think there's any question. My sources continue to tell me that it's going to be multiple TV and broadcast platforms. It is probably going to be, I have heard as many as 5, but a minimum of 3. Between 3 and 5 partners. And I think that is clearly CW. I think ESPN television. I think ESPN direct to consumer. ESPN, which is the name of their new entity that is broadcasting direct or delivering direct to consumer. That's 3 right there. Let's say CBS is 4. And then if you have a Amazon Prime, if you have another partner, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that between 3 and 5 broadcast partners are going to partake in a Pac-12 deal. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that the Pac-12, for 99% of their games, is going to wind up covering the production cost of that. And you are going to have to make sure that you can take that revenue, put it into a pot, and distribute it to a level unequally where Boise State's going to be able to pay their athletes $20.5 million a year.
Good luck.
And that is going to be very difficult to do. And so when you see this story today, where you have Boise State actively considering bringing private equity into the Broncos athletic department. What do you mean you're actively considering it? You're doing it. You have no choice but to do it.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like that sets the right tone for like the mission of the university or of the, the athletic department. Like actively considering
That's
tells
tough.
me you're like hemming and hawing, you're viewing the pros, the cons, you're trying to understand if it's something you actually want to do or if maybe it's not a fit for your athletic department.
Because I think if you're Boise State, contrast the conversation in Boise to pick your university, Columbus, with Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, pick your poison. How much leverage does Ohio State have? Wait, let me rephrase that. How much more leverage does Ohio State have in a private equity conversation than Boise does in a private equity conversation? It's massive.
A lot.
It's massive. The chasm between the two, the canyon between the two ends of the spectrum where the G5 play and the P4 play, it is huge. And I'll even go for enough to say, look at the bottom of the P4s and then look at the top of the P4s and you try to measure that gap. It's massive, dude. And you start looking at these stories, Front Office Sports, I think, had it, a bunch of people had it, that there's multiple private equity deals that are already done that are going to be announced. Texas and who else? Because I've heard
you already know.
Because I've heard that the University of Texas Austin is got a massive private equity deal that is already in place, and they are going to go all in on making sure that they have all the money they need to continuing not only to support their athletes, but to make sure that their athletes thrive across the board in every sport. Can you say that same thing at the very upper echelons, the top of the G5?
No.
It's impossible.
Well, and I think the difference is like the upper echelon of the G5 is like, what, 2 schools? 3 schools?
Yeah, I mean, I
like,
look at the American. How many schools in the American can afford $20.5 million a year?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at this.
Army?
Yeah.
Tulane, Memphis, Navy, East Carolina, South Florida, UTSA. Can they? Probably not. So
Do
can
they
Tulsa?
Want to?
Can Tulsa, who just lost the number 1 portal wide receiver, who was going to go to Utah and is now going to Colorado. I know Prime can't recruit and doesn't ever portal
he's
well.
Terrible. Yeah, he's off.
But
Come on.
Tulsa losing arguably the best wide receiver to Colorado, who's never going to struggle financially. Can Tulsa compete?
No.
Can Tulsa compete across where are there women's sports? Are there track and field and Olympic sports going to thrive?
No.
And the answer is I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. And I don't even know how would that be a thing that they would be able to thrive and compete? And the answer is I don't think they can. So we consider and we can have the conversation about what are the smallest schools in the ACC? Who are the smallest schools in the ACC? I would think the Boston colleges of the world are going to have trouble. I would think that people like Stanford, who have the money, there's no question they have the endowment. But is there a want to compete at the highest levels financially in college sports?
Well, look at SMU's situation, right? If we set their size aside and look at the money situation, the agreement that they're in with the ACC,
how much money they're not getting paid.
Like that now becomes of massive importance to you if you're SMU, because now you got to figure out how to make up the discrepancy of no TV money plus 20.5 mil.
I don't know how you do that.
Bro, I understand that there's deep pockets and oil money, but bro, that's a lot of money to be spending on college football.
And then I go and I look at Oak State. I look at Oklahoma State. You cut your coach's compensation because you said you couldn't afford NIL. And we're supposed to believe that you're going to pay $20.5 million and put all the money in that you need to put in to compete in sports. And I just don't know how you do that. I know Brett Yormark will do that. I look at the University of Arizona, who lost all of that money coming out of COVID. Remember, what was it, $240 million they misplaced?
Misplaced a decimal, you know?
And you're telling me we're supposed to believe that Arizona will do financially what needs to be done to compete at the highest level of athletics?
Just don't buy it, man.
So it's a scary time, and I'm curious, how much does the Pac-12's TV deal need to? The Pac-12 is going to fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
What does that really mean? You're forming a new conference, and it is going to take a windfall of cash for the Boise States of the world to continue to compete. How much does that TV deal need to be? I think it's as much as humanly possible. And the net is what's really important. How much money are you going to be able to distribute to each university in your conference? I think that is a really, really, really important question.
Look at this tweet, and I just think it speaks to our conversation from Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports.
Yep.
Texas Tech says its fundraising arm, the Red Raider Club, will be responsible for generating $14 million annually to help fund its $20.5 million revenue sharing model. Like, I just bring that up to put in perspective, like, people have been taking action. Like, people, it's not just Ohio State and Texas, man.
That's right.
Like, and again, I'm not trying to shade Texas Tech at all, but Texas Tech is in a very interesting situation, meaning this year there's a ton of expectations on the football program, obviously, as we've talked so much about. But within that, you've got all this planning and effort and energy and mental capacity being put into how are we going to afford the $20.5 million? Because notice it's not, well, yeah, we're going to think about it. Yeah, we're actively considering whether we're going to participate. No, dude, they've decided probably, 6 months ago, a year ago, like a while ago now.
A while ago.
Like that they were going to do this and that they needed a collective and that collective needed to be responsible. Like, I'm telling you,
Boys,
this is a classic scenario in life. Hey, something's coming down the pipe. What are you doing about it?
I was just going to say, apply what's going on here to your life, because one other thing before we get to your comments. Brandon Marcello also made an excellent point. What did all the commissioners on this call this morning say? This video conference. We want legislation to codify the terms of this settlement, the House settlement. They're really worried that they're going to continue to get sued because they're continuing to get sued. And I think you look at this story, and this is one where I really want you guys to comment on this. Greg Sankey is going to play golf with Donald Trump. And I am curious if you guys think that Donald Trump needs to step in and do something here. Because Greg Sankey is not having conversations about, hey, Donnie, what'd you measure this pin at? You got 147? That thing got slope on it? I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about what the government can do to create an antitrust environment where college football can thrive and make as much money as possible. I think that's the entire point of playing golf with Donald Trump is to make sure he wins. But secondarily,
he'll make sure he wins.
Thank you. Secondarily, there's no point. The only reason Greg Sankey's going to play golf with Donald Trump is to make sure that his college football, because what did he say this morning? And I don't know that anybody pays attention to this stuff because I'm probably insane and psychotic, and that's fine. Did you guys notice that Greg Sankey called college football uniquely American? Does anybody understand what that reference meant this morning? That was a reference to the teens, 1918, 1920, when Major League Baseball was trying to figure out how to thrive and survive. And it was trying to become America's pastime. And it used that same language. And what happened? Government stepped in and created an entity for it. And I think that's what's going to happen with college football. And I do believe that we will have a commissioner of college football. And I do believe it will be Nick Saban or Greg Sankey, or I do believe that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is any question that Donald Trump is going to, in my opinion, federalize college athletics the way that they have the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, MLS. I think it's going to be federalized. And if we're being honest, I think it needs to be federalized. I think it needs to be protected, because as much, and this might sound moronic, but as much positive is going to come out of this House settlement, there is going to be real, long-lasting, permanent, painful damage done to college athletics. To whom that to whom and how and when, I don't know. But there are going to be programs that disappear. There are going to be universities who don't have track and field or diving or swimming. I can tell you a personal friend of mine who was a swim coach at a very high level isn't a swim coach anymore because they don't have a swim program anymore. And that's not accidental. And you're seeing that, whether you realize it or not, across the country. There are swimmers and runners and rowers and bobsledders and skiers and tennis players and golfers who no longer have a school and who no longer have a scholarship. And I think you need to federalize college sports, if only to make it so that football has a never-ending supply of cash.
Yeah.
To make sure that these universities pay for those low-level sports. You think Donald Trump is going to watch his grandchildren who are all in the pipeline for golf? He's got a granddaughter. Donnie Jr.'s daughter is like a legitimate golfer. Golf is one of the sports at the mid to lower level that is going to disappear. Because I think you're going to see, my belief is, in talking to college administrators, my belief is college football, basketball, and stick and ball sports are very secure. Soccer is very secure. I think anything else, I think if you're a lacrosse player, better find a different sport. Because I think it's going to be very difficult to have lacrosse.
And most of those dudes play other sports.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
I think it's going to be very difficult to have lacrosse be a fully funded sport. I think you're going to watch water polo turn into a club sport. And that is terrifying if you're a water polo player, because it is really expensive to put yourself in a position where you just can't, and I don't even know how to say, it's really difficult to put yourself in a position where you can't fund the chess team anymore. Well, that happened already. That's why chess is a club activity.
Yes. Yes.
That's where we're going. And everybody thinks like, oh, volleyball is untouchable. No, it's not. No, it is not. There are already schools who can't afford to partake in football. You look at, and this was brought up to me over the weekend by a TV guy who said, do you think the Ivy League will play football anymore? And my honest answer was, I don't think so. I don't know how they can afford it. With what's going on at places like Harvard and Yale and academically, and the money that is being shredded from their budgets, dude, you're going to watch a significant part of this change. I'm telling you. You are going to watch a significant part of it change. All right. Let's get to the comment section. Thank you for listening to 50 minutes of my soliloquy as I go.
Yeah.
I think this is, you guys, not to belabor my point, I think this is one of the most critical moments in the history of all sports in this country.
This is fucking America.
I'm telling you, he's not wrong. This is America. And I think you're watching America change. Of everything that's, Jesus, of all the things changing in this country,
U.S. Americans,
it is shocking. It is shocking the things that are happening on our television sets. It is shocking the change that we are seeing in college athletics and what's going on in Los Angeles, what's going on in,
like, for instance,
all different corners of this country and around this world. College sports is vastly insignificant. Like, it just doesn't matter on a lot of levels. But when you look at how many people use college athletics as a vessel to education, you look at what's going on at historically black colleges in this country, and you look at the fact that a lot of kids are only getting an education and digging out of generational poverty through college athletics, bro, this is a hugely important time. This is a hugely important event. And the history that is being made, man, I don't think we've even begun to just scratch the surface of the history that's going to be made. That's how seismic this is.
It's a huge deal.
And I'm really curious. We have over 1,000 people watching the show right now. Everybody on YouTube, please hit the like button. If you're listening on our audio podcast, hello to everybody on Apple, Spotify, everywhere. Our audio podcast is exploding right now, and I really appreciate everybody who's gone to Apple, and we're doing great numbers there. X, hello to everybody on Twitter X. Thank you for watching. Please come over to YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. Please give us a thumbs up. Let's keep the conversations rolling on the Monty Show. Our official daily fantasy partner, Prize Picks. Your boys on a 6-game heater on Prize Picks. Thank you, Tyrese Halliburton, for being a complete failure and waste of space in the NBA Finals. Thanks to Tyrese, 2 games in a row. Tyrese, some idiot put Tyrese Halliburton's points, rebounds, and assist number at 39.5. Yeah, right. Tyrese Halliburton, who had
So-called experts,
5 points going into the fourth quarter. Jake, is he your guy, Tyrese Halliburton, your favorite player of all time? The guy you said was better than Michael Jordan has ever been.
I want the best people.
Right? You said he was better than Michael Jordan ever was.
Right.
How do you feel about Tyrese Halliburton now, man?
Yeah, he's not off to a good start, that's for sure.
What? But I mean, he's the Michael Jordan, right? Like he's everything you've ever wanted.
Right.
So I appreciate. Yeah. There's no parade. None. There isn't. You can go back.
to go home.
You can go home. You look at last night, and again, let me just. I don't know how much more I can evangelize for Alex Caruso.
Shut the fuck up.
I know you're tired of hearing it, but how many times have I told you? I'm not going to shut up because Alex Caruso's a goddamn stud.
I get that.
Last night, Alex Caruso on a 13-point and rebound number, combined points and rebounds last night. And I don't know how to put my greatness out there any more than to say he had 20 points and 3 rebounds. And thank God the guy scores points because he didn't rebound a lick last night. But it still won because it went 3 for 3 because SGA.
Fucking A.
You want to compare, guy? I'm telling you, that is the most Kobe Jordan guy I've seen in a long time. He did some stuff yesterday that was eerily similar to Michael Jordan's hanging jump shot. We've used the SGA Kobe Bryant comparison in the past. I think it's dead accurate. I saw it on Twitter like a month ago.
Yeah, the only thing he doesn't have that those two had was the explosiveness at the rim. But other than that, everything pretty much is.
The layups, the two, and it's eerie, the step throughs that he does. There's 2 things he does that reminds me of Jordan and Kobe. The hanging, I'm about to hit the floor, let me then release it, jumper like Jordan had, SGA's got it. The step throughs out of he'll be backing a guy down. He will fake and then step through for a layup. I mean, it is almost If you didn't know that wasn't Kobe, you would think that was Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Crazy. So, Chaboy, I just want you to know, since Friday on Prize Picks, thanks to the Chicago Cubs' greatness and sitting out yesterday's Cubs game, I have knocked down $220 in 3 days on Prize Picks. We're back, baby. We're back.
That's right.
Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty because we got McDeasy on the ice tonight. Oilers are going to take the lead. Probably not. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. It is the single best daily fantasy promotion I have ever seen. Do it right now. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. Don't you have? Well, before the show's over, we'll get back to Connor McDavid because we got to do NHL Prize Picks tonight. I know it's crazy. Angel Reese. I won on Angel Reese the other night. On fire. I'm seeing it like it already happened.
Angel Reese more or less than 1.5 in the first quarter.
Don't you guys love it when gambling degenerates are like, I'm seeing it, Ma! I think I've hit it every time. They always say, I'm seeing it like it already happened.
Bruh.
You're not, actually. That's why you're a gambling degenerate. But it's fine. But Monty. Hey, But Monty. Angel Reese to miss her first shot. It's still one of the best TikTok videos I've ever seen.
Selectively aggressive.
Unfortunately, Prize Picks has removed that
It's too easy, bro.
pick.
Too easy.
It's terrible. In McJesus, the Oilers trust, baby, I want it so bad. That they lost in overtime the other night. So disappointing. Jeremiah Champion. Only little boy I see here is you, Jason. Are you guys really fighting
What are we
already?
doing?
What? Who? Jason? Who?
Okay, hold on. Let me come back here. Okay, here we
Who
go.
the fuck is that guy?
I don't even know who Jason is, man.
Who the fuck are you?
I don't know. Big shout out to Brad, who's been a member for 27 months.
Okay, Brad. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Appreciate you guys. Go Archers. Appreciate you, Brad. Thank you very much. Let's see. Eric Wasikowski. Tony P must be a silent partner. Okay. Let's see. Brandon Big Pun, if we have way bigger problems right now than college football not getting sued. We have Marines versus citizens in LA, dude. That's why I said, like, I understand that
Twitter's been going crazy.
I hope most people understand that sports is not real life. What happens on the courts, fields, these guys are making. Devin Booker is going to sign an extension probably this week that's going to pay him $75 million per season.
Come on, bro.
That's not real life.
Buddy's going to make more in one season than most athletic departments.
No, I said Buddy's going to make more in one season than most people will make in their lifetime. He's going to make more money in a game than most people make in a year. Sports is not real life. It is not real life. Fight on Natties. What's up, Fight on Natties? USC has House of Victory Collective for a reason. And we were talking about it last week. I don't know if you were here, Fight on, but Lincoln Riley, you guys, do you think it was any accident that Lincoln Riley spent the last 11 months firing people in collectives and getting their money in order? No.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Exactly right. What? Conundrum? Why did you get Conundrum got filtered?
Wait. How far in the show are we? How many minutes in the show are we?
I'd have to go back and check. No, he got filtered. I don't know which, like, he's the 7th comment. And you got filtered already?
a little bit late, Conundrum. We're 60 minutes in, not 43 minutes. So
be better.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. If you're gonna get filtered, at least be committed to the bit, you know?
Reister JP, football is uniquely American. The rest of the world is American football.
Yeah, you know, Fahrenheit versus Celsius, you know.
Isaac Drost. With college players getting paid since NIL and directly through universities, now they need to take off scholarships for those players. No, they do not.
No, they don't, actually. No.
I've never understood this argument. And Isaac, I'd love to have it with you. Somebody explain to me why, when you're making billions off of student athletes, they shouldn't get a free education. Why? Help me understand it. What is it that pisses people off so much that you think these kids should have to pay for their own education? That mentality is why the House suit happened. Because you have a bunch of old white men who were billionaires who didn't want to share, not millions. When all this started, we were talking about thousands, tens of thousands. Oh, we can't have Jeremy Bloom getting paid by ski, man. Do you guys remember Jeremy Bloom, the Olympic skier who played football at Colorado? And the NCAA would wanted to rule him ineligible because, amongst other things, he had a contract with K2, I believe it was, where they were going to pay him to endorse their skis in the ski community where he was an Olympic skier. And the NCAA said, no, that's not that would make you professional. We can't have you making money and thinking we're secondary. That's why we're here. Because you didn't want to pay Ed O'Bannon and others to have their name in a video game. You wanted all the money for the NCAA. So this idea right here that we don't want to pay their education, you're the guy, and that mentality is the reason that we're where we are. It's really tough to look past that. Right? You know.
Yeah.
Timothy O'Hara. Oh, this ought to be good. Elon Musk is going to give billions of dollars to the PAC so they can compete with the SEC. I'm sure that's
wow. I mean, wow.
Probably going to happen. Commissioner Gumby. Saw, dude. Gumby, always good to see you. But Monty. No but Monty's. Doesn't lacrosse involve a stick with a net? I believe it does. I've heard that.
Actually, it's referred to as a twine.
Jason Washington, what's it going to take to get little Jakey boy to stop saying yeah into his mic? Oh, look at that. See, why do you guys create fake accounts?
Yeah, it's so clear who you are.
Like, and this is the stuff that I love. I love that the haters show up because they're jealous and they're angry. So you create fake accounts to try and...
You literally spent time making a fake account only to be called out on your first comment on that fake account for being a fake account. Did you really think we wouldn't see past it?
Come on, man.
By the way, since that's what you like to refer to constantly, do you really think you're the first one to try to do this? And by the way, do you really think we care?
Because I
could care less, dude. I couldn't care less, I should say.
Yeah, it's not possible.
I don't care about anything you guys like to, get upset about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, share your opinion, come in and make it better. Let's have a conversation. But if you're just going to come in here and be negative, my guess is, and again, I don't have direct access to the comment section while we do the show. But my guess is that you're probably getting slapped in the comment section right now.
It just doesn't.
You guys, come on, dude.
It just doesn't matter. There needs to be an open and honest exchange of ideas, and people who don't have that ability,
show us that repeatedly.
You do you. But Monty just reminds me of South Park student athletes. Exactly right. Why do we want to take things away from these kids? This is the concept I struggle with most. I don't understand why you want to take things away from student athletes. I will never understand it. It is, I don't know if it's jealousy or because when we were, I hear so many times, oh, when I was a kid, well, bro, that was so that world was completely different.
What are we, 25 years ago now?
At
a minimum?
Should we drive the same cars we drove when we were teenagers? Should we eat the same food? Like, the world changes and evolves. And at some point, we as humans, we have to get to a point where we're willing to stop fighting every single piece of change that comes our way. Because if we're not willing to embrace things, we're going to struggle. Life is going to be a fight. And I just don't understand it. Please don't take the student out of the student athlete. And I hope they don't.
Yeah, I just don't understand why it matters. Like, why do we care if they because you understand if you're getting a scholarship, you had to earn that academically.
Yeah.
You weren't just given a free pass.
Yeah. Lots of snowflakes in here today, which is fine. And I welcome all the haters. Please comment. You're making us. You're not breaking us. Please comment. It helps the channel grow. I really appreciate it. Everybody who comments here has to be subscribed to the show for at least a moment. So you do you, man. You do you. Jason, get over it. My God, it just is what it is. It just is what it is, man. Monty going to complain about the umpire like every other Cubs fan. Hey, dude, I love that Detroit Tiger fans I had Detroit Tiger fans DMing me over the weekend. Oh, we swept you. You didn't. You might want to go back. You didn't sweep. 2 of 3 is not a sweep. First of all, Tiger fans, if you guys are the best team in baseball, because that's all I've heard all year is the Tigers are the best team in baseball. The Cubs don't have a notable starting pitcher. And they have one of the shakiest bullpens in baseball. Was this really some high watermark that you beat the Cubs 2 out of 3? And never mind that the umpire Eric Wasikowski is talking about was the single lowest rated strike zone in the last 5 seasons. And how do we know it's 5? Because that's how long they've been rating strike zones. 5 seasons. On Sunday, the lowest rated strike zone in the history of the track strike zone was Sunday in Detroit. And it's like 70-something% of the missed calls went against the Cubs. But when you're not a good pitcher, you're not going to get that, right? So the issue in the Cubs-Tigers game, for those who didn't see it, was to a left-handed batter is predominantly where this umpire missed. Left-handed batter, the Cubs were routinely hitting the corner, the outside corner to a left-handed hitter. And they were being called balls. When the Cubs were at the plate, they were missing outside. And I mean, some of them were like 6-8 inches. It was clearly off the zone. He's calling him a strike. He missed 76% of his calls were the opposite. And almost all of them were outside to a left-handed hitter. It was clearly one of the worst zones. That doesn't excuse the Cubs. I think the Cubs got shut out for the 3rd time this year. Doesn't excuse the Cubs not hitting. But when you're a bad pitching staff, you're not getting the call on the corner.
Right.
And I've been talking about this all year. Until the Cubs and the Ricketts family, who I'm sure listens to the show every single day. You want to go and get Chris Sale? That's not an answer to your problems. Chris Sale does not fix it. Does not fix it. Leave your starters alone and go build a dominant bullpen. Those arms are out there at the deadline. If the Cubs went and got a number 1 closer and like the 3rd option as a setup man, this bullpen would be fine. But they won't do that. They want to go and splash on a below top tier salary. So a guy like Chris Sale, who's not the same Chris Sale he was in his prime with the White Sox, they want to go and get Chris Sale because Chris Sale's more affordable. It's not the way you win championships. And this, by the way, the Cubs are not one starting pitcher away from winning a World Series.
But that would be a classic Cubs move to go get a guy like Chris Sale to hide behind. Oh, we spent money, but they're not actually trying to win a championship.
You probably need 2 starting pitchers, a closer, and a 3rd baseman. Other than that, this team's amazing. And you might want to not have Justin Turner at first base every other day. Other than that, so to all the Tiger fans out there, if it's really that big of an accomplishment to beat the Cubs, hey, more power to you. I appreciate everybody, hitting me on DMs over the weekend. Congratulations, you beat the Cubs.
By the way, it's June.
Well, beyond that, I mean, it's the only game you can get excited about.
Yeah.
Guys, leave two holes alone. Don't leave them alone.
I don't care. The funny thing is, like this is what I think is funny. People create fake accounts under random names, but what they don't understand is you're never getting away from how you write your comment. Like, that's what you don't get. I know who you are. I know how you talk. I know how you write. I know the verbiage you use. I know the vocabulary that you choose to employ.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rocket science as to what's going on here. And what's funny to me, and again, then we can move on from it. Why do you create fake accounts? Just come in and at least be accountable to the stuff you're saying.
Well, my guess is he can't come in because he's probably filtered.
No, I hadn't considered that. That's a fair point.
Well, because he used to come in here and make the same, if I remember right, it was years ago, but he would come in and say the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, grow up.
Yeah.
Man, like,
so like I don't like the comments about like like Gumby as an example, but I'm sure there are others. It doesn't bother me at all. It's just not a thing.
and if you have nothing better to do with your life than to come and comment on our show, please comment a lot at least.
Yeah, I mean, comment a ton and like call me an idiot as much as you want. I'm happy to be the guy that you call names because all you're doing is pushing our show forward,
making us money.
And by the way, you watch every single day, which makes us more money. So again, as usual, thank you for your participation in the program.
Yeah, David Persons for $2. Did House create a pro farm system for the NFL? I don't know. That's a really interesting concept. I've heard that a lot. A lot of people believe that, the minute that Judge Wilkins signed the agreement, this became a feeder system to the NFL. It's always been a feeder system. You can't go to the NFL without playing college football. It is exceptionally rare. And usually it's a long snapper. Usually it's a kicker. Or, it is so incredibly rare. When go find me the quarterback, the offensive lineman, the wide receiver, the linebacker who is an all-timer, right? And a lot of the best players in the history of the NFL. Who's the greatest? Tom Brady, Michigan. Peyton Manning, Tennessee. Their university affiliation because it's this incestuous relationship where everybody gets in bed together and we all make money, and the media, the colleges, the NFL, everybody prospers when big name college players turn into big name NFL players.
Right.
Because then we get to go and talk about it. So I don't know necessarily that I would say, David, that it created a farm system. Did it make the farm system more lucrative? I can get down with that. Did it make it so that the farm system could pay more money? I can get down with that.
And does a minor league model or a farm system, if you want to call it that, for the NFL, make college football more attractive to private equity? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges is you have to have a way. Because again, if someone invests $1 in college football, they're only doing that because they feel like I can turn my $1 into $5 or $10 or whatever it might be. So the risk of private equity is, hey, well, if we invest this amount of money, like again, Boise State, if we invest this amount of money in Boise State football and it doesn't grow and we want out, then who's on the hook for paying us out? That's what schools are scared of.
It is really interesting to see how all this plays out because it is on the daily. It feels like that we get new updates and we get new information, and
there's always someone talking about it.
Yeah. I think if you're just tuning into the show, good afternoon. Appreciate you for being here on the Monty Show, presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Huge news today. Obviously that the House settlement is approved, and now where do we go from here? And I think the next big plunge is into private money. I think that is how you are going to grow and push the sport further, because if it ever had come in, if private money had come into college football much earlier, I'm not sure what you would have done with it, what you could have done with it, because your hands were largely tied. It's always been the next big thing was to pay players, but you didn't have the ability. There were rules in place to prohibit it. And so we've gone through all these legal challenges that immediately the player won and the university didn't fight. Hey, I want another year. Hey, I want this. Hey, immediately, I don't want to sit out a year. Okay, we'll go to court, get an injunction. Yep, NCAA is not going to fight that. Right? Like, so it's ever evolving. Now you have this ability where private money can come in. You can pay the player more. You can, if you think about the infrastructure that goes into the football program, better travel. There's a lot of people who forget that component. Not my idea. I was talking to an athletic director who said, hey, one of the things that private money will do, it will make it possible to charter more of our sports, more basketball, more like, again, Ed Scott from Memphis talking about chartering soccer. Those are the things you have to wonder at the P4 level. Now with private money coming in and you're growing revenue and making more money, how many more sports are going to charter? What about technology to help facilitate education? Right? So I can tell you at Utah, that's a big deal for Utah. Making sure that, hey, yeah, we're spending all this money. What about health and well-being, both mental and physical, for our student athletes? And what are we going to do technology-wise to facilitate education? Because if you think graduation rates or test scores or aptitudes, if you think any of that's going to take a fall at any of these major research institutions, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind, especially with the way that funding and research money and grants and federal dollars have all changed now. You look at the last 6 months, look at how that education department has absolutely been flipped on its ear and all of the funding stuff has changed. So now you really got to be on your game. That's what's at play here. That's what we're really talking about. And I think the other big story today, Ross Dellinger confirming what we talked about last week, that all of the new Pac-12 members have signed a membership agreement forming the Pac-12. And in addition to that, they've all signed their grant of rights. So now you have an entity that has a product that it can go and sell to media partners. Big step forward. Great day for the Pac-12 today. Now you've got to go get another member. Now you've got to go and get a media rights deal, which from our sources in television, most people believe that media rights deal is done and is going to look very similar to what is in place now. My guess is it'll be the CW. I think it's 3 to 5 partners. I think it'll be the CW. I think it will be ESPN direct to consumer. I think it'll be ESPN TV will do a game, possibly 2. And I think that's what we don't know. What are the distribution levels? How much is on the CW? How much is on direct to consumer? How much is on stream, CBS, ESPN television? Those are the things that are going to have to get worked out in this new deal. But mark my words, ESPN direct to consumer, and if you want to call that stream, call it whatever you want. ESPN is, I don't look at ESPN's direct to consumer as stream. I don't look at ESPN Plus right now as stream. Like being able to get on your phone, if you have an ESPN membership, you can get on your phone and I can watch the U.S. Open starting Thursday. Early round coverage, right? The tee times that are not going to be on TV, ESPN broadcast them. That stuff is not streamed to me. That's added value. And when you look at this direct-to-consumer product, I think it's going to be very heavy with the Mountain West and the Pac-12. I think they will both likely get a piece of that. We'll see. How much does ESPN value that versus what they used to pay for standard television, like linear TV on ESPN, ESPN Plus? My feeling is it's going to be less. That'd be my guess, that the money there will be less.
Yeah, and I think the Pac-12 didn't value ESPN streaming, if that's what we're calling it, in the old Pac-12. That was one of the main reasons, President Cauce was against everything, is because the deal was too stream heavy. She wouldn't support that.
And she didn't want to be on Apple TV for like 50% of her content.
Right. Which I understand.
And I agree with that.
But I think that, one of the things that this TV, or what I should be saying, is media rights deal. Distribution deal will kind of shed light on is like where Pac-12 leadership is on, those percentages, like you were saying. I mean, if you do a deal that, is, just throwing numbers out there, like 70% CW
Yeah.
and only like 10% on ESPN. That's going to be different than heavy ESPN or I just think that in the modern day, does the Pac-12 prioritize being on the cell phone, or are they more prioritizing being on a TV? That's what I want to know.
I think it's a great question. I think that is a great question. But Monty, James knows what's up. Oh,
Okay,
God. What did James say?
James, I swear to God, if your first comment's about the wife, we're not doing that this week,
James
bro.
has been a member for 24 months.
Okay, nice. 2 years. Nice job, dude.
Monty's show is great. They were spot on about the Pac-12, FSU, Clemson not leaving the ACC, and they will be right about the new Pac-12. It's not really a right thing, as much as I appreciate that comment. We're not right or wrong. We just happen to have the relationships that are involved in that process.
And I appreciate you saying that, man. I really do. But because I'm assuming you're saying that in response to the shenanigans in the comment sections today. I just don't think it's like, that's great. And I do agree with you. We are accurate most of the time. It's rare we miss. But that really isn't connected to people creating fake accounts so that they can just come in and hate. And what I should be saying is so that they can come in and support the show, because once again, all it does is push the show forward, which which is great.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that people like I feel like there's a lot of people over the years that think that like we get our feelings hurt by you coming in and being negative in the comments section. Do you really think that if I got my feelings hurt by your 5 comments, that I would still, be doing the show or something? Like, it just isn't that big a deal,
This
bro.
is akin to people calling me fat.
Yeah, like, I just don't care.
Come on, man. Do you think I've never heard that before? And again, I just go and ask people, what is wrong in your life that your favorite pastime is coming into our show and hating in the comments section? Because what it tells me is you have no idea how YouTube works.
Yeah.
So as I always say, please hate more. Get pissed more. Come comment more, right? Fat Jesus, you are wrong. It is completely about being right or wrong. Well, there you go.
There you go, man.
There you go. Luis Enrique's tactical positioning strategy.
Bro.
No. João Neves won the
Strategy,
Champions League and the Nations League inside of a week. He's 20. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Cool, man. That's really wow.
And he's a coward because he won't come to the Premier League. Fat. Exactly. I am just rotund.
Dude. Yeah. Wow.
Fat.
It was interesting. Yesterday, I did something I swore I would never do.
Oh God.
I went hiking yesterday.
What?
You guys, are you
Dude,
proud of?
what?
Are you proud?
What's
wait.
going on,
Hold on. By the way, are you proud of me? I did not play golf yesterday.
What?
I went hiking instead. And it was actually amazing. The problem is today my ass is killing me.
My
Like,
ass.
My
Your lazy
glutes,
ass in the gym.
my glutes and hips are like, dude, walking up straight uphill to Donut Falls yesterday, probably not your best move for the glutes, but it was amazing. It was amazing. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go read the comments, eye patch. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But Monty, I think they still have their channel through live TV, just another option to view it. I think this is what happened to, for instance, BYU TV. Remember they used to be called third tier, tier 3. All of that went away because of things like Big Ten Network, because of things like Pac-12 Network. And we'll see as part of this distribution deal or media rights deal that the Pac-12 is working on, does ESPN, because this is one of the things I've been hearing about, the Pac-12 has asked, hey, can you embed our channel on Prime, on Apple TV, on...
Right.
Hey, ESPN, let's have you do the same thing you did with the Big 12, but we want to keep the Pac-12 network. Because now, and I have no idea how many people know this, and I'm not trying to be a simp about it or anything. For instance, Big 12 softball, Big 12 volleyball. You can get all of it on ESPN Plus.
And it's super easy to find.
It's all in
it's
there.
So easy.
Yeah, it's all in there. do we get the Pac-12 network on ESPN direct to consumer? I don't know how we're going to delineate the two, because ESPN's new service that they're
Right.
going to begin this fall is just called ESPN.
Which I have to say, I don't really understand that.
Well, because I think that obviously that is their brand. It
but
is
you
branding
can't, bro,
101.
you can't come up with like ESPN.
Well, because
like
they already have
something.
ESPN Plus. They already have like ESPN Bet,
But I
which
think
is its own app.
ESPN Plus is what makes this kind of confusing for your average Joe consumer, because they're like, well, don't we already have that with ESPN Plus?
No.
Not. But my point is, I'm not saying they do. My point is I think people get confused around, hey, well, what's ESPN Plus versus this product, this new product they're calling
agree.
ESPN?
Yeah.
People
That I
don't
can see.
understand the difference.
ESPN Plus is pay-per-view. And I'm not sure people get this. Like all of the UFC cards are on ESPN Plus. The fight tournaments and the Friday night fights.
Which I have to say, my one complaint with ESPN Plus right now, especially because I use ESPN Plus primarily for golf, like you do, to catch those early round tee times.
Yes.
It is obnoxious Friday morning when you try to catch early tee times, dude. When there's a UFC fight card, you can't look the wrong way in that app without being notified about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll be curious to see what ESPN looks like, but my point is, if the Pac-12 wants to keep the Pac-12 network alive, and I'm not necessarily saying they should, if that's something that they're fighting for, hey, maybe they can embed it in ESPN's new direct-to-consumer. I have no idea. But I think you're going to see their deal is going to be the CW. We'll get the bulk of their games. I think you're going to see a game on ESPN or two, a game on CBS, and then everything else will be streamed in one form or another. And I think you're probably looking at the same deal for the Mountain West, because, again, I still maintain they should have merged. It was the only right thing to do. I think very clearly that's not going to happen now, and I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I think it is a mistake that I don't know will ever be corrected. I don't know if you can correct it. But my feeling is that we're moving into a situation now where one of these two leagues is going to take substantially less than the other. And I have no idea who that is or what that looks like. I have no idea. If it is indeed Texas State, my biggest concern for the Pac-12 is that does not bring value. The value that it brings is, hey, we have an eighth full member that plays football. We're good to go. We're a whole real conference. It does not bring, hey, Central Texas. It does not take you from Houston to Austin, because you figure Texas State, for those you don't know, is in an enclave called San Marcos, which is right between San Antonio and Austin. That's obviously not their entirety. There's more reach than that. But my point is, it doesn't bring you all of West Texas like Lubbock does. It doesn't bring you DFW and really the entire state of Texas like TCU does, or Austin, or so it's just an interesting, how does TV value that? And my folks in TV tell me they don't value Texas State as a, hey, we got Texas State, pay us more money. I don't think the calculus changes at all. And if they announce Texas State in the next few days and then a TV deal in the next few days after that, that tells you all you need to know. That Texas State was not a huge difference maker. So who knows? We'll see. Noel Ramirez for $5. Hello, Noel. I'm back from London.
Oh, how's London, dude?
Let's go. One of my favorite cities in the world is London. What did I miss? My UCF go undefeated again? Yeah, I mean, they won the national championship while you were in London.
Yep.
Sorry you missed that, buddy. Good to see you.
Yeah, what kind of fan are you, bro? How could you miss that? Come on.
I appreciate you being here. Stadium guy James, Pac-12 needs to add Texas State, UTSA, and North Texas. Why would you do that? That would be a decisively bad decision. You don't need quantity over quality. What you need right now is one member, get your media rights deal, and then reevaluate. And I think that's clearly what the Mountain West is doing, because I could absolutely see somebody, and I'm not telling you this is actually happening, but one of the guys I talk to regularly in the industry was telling me, well, the next time I hear about the AAC and the Mountain West trying to merge won't be the first time. I think that's a really interesting question.
Yeah, that's all going to come down to finances because of the distance.
But but if you think about that, there's not truly a coast to coast conference. There is not, hey, we have got a bunch of teams in the West. We have got a bunch of teams in the Mountain. We have got a bunch of, that doesn't exist right now. And I mean, the closest thing to it is probably the Big Ten, right? You got SC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon.
I was going to say the Big 12. Because the Big Ten, I mean, yeah, I guess.
You've got the Arizona schools, and you've got BYU and Utah.
And you've got Florida presence, obviously.
With UCF.
Yeah.
But is that to the scale that the AAC and the Mountain West would be? Where you have a massive schools that side of the Mississippi and a massive schools that side of the Mississippi?
No, probably not.
That's a different conversation. I don't know. There's a lot of hurdles to jump there. Certainly there's a lot of hurdles to jump there. Gumby says the ACC is coast to coast, but is it now? Because you have Stanford and Cal, and then look where everybody else is at. You've got SMU and Texas.
It feels like you have a little island.
Yeah, it feels like you have. It feels like you have those guys out west.
Yeah,
the vacation.
Those idiots.
Yeah, your uncle that lives out in California. Go see him.
Yeah,
right. Johnny Gonzalez, if quality is the struggle for building into a conference, James is going the quantity route to make up the difference. I don't know. I think the hard part is people don't understand the business equation that goes into adding a new university into your conference. What value do they truly add? And again, I go back to Texas State. They don't have a big stadium. They don't sell out. It's a small school. And the Pac-12 is a big brand. And if I look at the brands that are in that conference, and you look at average attendances, average TV audiences, your Washington State's getting 1 million views in a big game. How many other teams in that league are getting 1 million views? Boise in a really big game, right? And Boise's put a massive investment into their infrastructure.
Yeah, most of those schools aren't getting 1 million views.
That's when you have to really be careful. UTSA is a hell of a value proposition. I think UTSA is. I would have gone to the ends of the earth to get UTSA instead of Texas State, but I think very clearly UTSA wasn't available. I think UTEP is probably a better ad than Texas State. But at the end of the day, you got to go play the games and let's figure it out.
Yeah, now you got to go win some ball games.
Maybe Texas State is the greatest thing we've ever seen. And they turn into a massive program because of the stepping stone that was the Pac-12. And they grew and they made a lot more money and the kids were healthier and happy. Hey, that's what we're all hoping for, right? I think there's a belief out there that we hope one conference fails, or the best thing for everybody is that there's more prosperity. I don't think there's any question about that. I continue to maintain if either one of these conferences gets to $10 million a year per school, the other one's in real trouble. I think they are fighting each other. They're absolutely leaching the oxygen out of each other's rooms.
Couldn't agree more.
And that's not good for anybody. If the Pac-12 ultimately, because the Pac-12 is not going to fail. I don't think the Mountain West is going to fail. But nobody goes swimming just to tread water the whole time. Right? That's not why you're in business. You want prosperity. And as hard as these people work, and I think this is the other thing that people forget, the effort and the energy it takes just to maintain the sales effort, it is a lot of work just to maintain the athletics. I don't wish failure on any of these people. I truly do not. Let's see. Who else? Stadium Guy James. Wow, ACC and Mountain West would be cool. If they can play their title game in Arlington or Las Vegas, that would be awesome. Well, I would guess it would be Las Vegas. I mean,
that's where the heart of the conference is currently.
Yeah, and I mean, Allegiant's an amazing building, so that's what I would think. Also, let's be honest here: Air Force, Army, Navy, the Commander in Chief's trophy as conference games. Sure, I could see that. The ACC has the Pacific, Gulf, America, and Atlantic coasts. Fight me, bro.
Fight me, bro.
They do have Gulf of America.
Yeah,
this is
Glad we got
Gumby.
that updated on the map.
That is a hell of a point. D-Rock 15. It would be interesting to see an ACC Mountain West merger, an AAC Mountain West merger. It makes sense. So it probably doesn't happen. But in all seriousness, if you look at college sports, when does it ever happen?
Never.
When does make sense ever happen? It made no sense for SC and UCLA to go to the Big Ten, but it happened. It made no sense for USC to say no to, taking teams from the Big 12, but it happened, right? We have no idea. I mean, USC was playing chess. Well, the Pac-12 was playing checkers, man. I mean, that's
the
ultimately
Pac-12 was playing Connect 4. You know what I mean?
That's ultimately what happened. Unfortunately, because I still maintain it's one of the greatest tragedies in sports history that the original Pac-12 conference is no longer here. And it just never had to happen, but we can go back over that. Exactly, Gumby. It's an all-coast conference. There you go.
All-coast conference.
ACC, all-coast conference.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
I like it. Is there any coast that doesn't have a presence in the Canadian coast? I don't know. Wouldn't Washington State give them I'm just saying, it is what it is. Delaric, hello. Pac would want UTSA over Texas State, but UTSA wants to go back Pac. I would think that UTSA is not available based on grant of rights and evidence.
Yeah, if they were available, I would think that they would have been the selection.
And does this mean that Memphis and Tulane are not going to the Pac-12? Because remember that whole fight in. Well, won't we find out about that this week then? I would think so. Because again, based on conversations I'm having, the next 10 days are going to be an avalanche of really good news for the Pac-12, which thankfully, because we really need these conferences to start having good days.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. We're tired of talking about it, right? I mean, how long have we been talking about this? It'd be nice to move on to something else.
I'm tired of talking about legal fees. I'm tired of hearing about the Pac-12 breaking records for paying legal fees. Like, let's put all that behind us and start playing real football and basketball games. Let's start talking about college football needs positivity. It needs all of these lawsuits. This era of litigation has to come to an end. We just cannot continue to play this game. It's got to happen that you have. I don't think we'll ever have glassy, smooth waters, right? I don't think that's happening. But it'd be nice if we had some smooth sailing for a while.
And I don't even think that I don't even know that it's a fair expectation anymore, for smooth waters. I think there's just so much change happening every 5 seconds that, it's really more about being able to roll with the punches and make the best of it.
I totally agree. But Monty, have we considered Jason might be here for ASMR content? Jason who? What do you mean? The Monty Show. Wait, Monty has a weight problem? Yeah, I know. Shocking. That is simply vociferous twaddle. So there.
Vociferous.
I think when we talk about, the weight issues or like the insults, you have no idea how invisible you are. It's wild to me. But Monty says, I stand corrected. Okay. Jeremiah Champion. Jason, who are you guys talking about? You keep recycling. I'm sure something will stick eventually. It is what it is, right? I'd be calling UTEP first. UTEP already has a grant of rights in the Mountain West.
Which is why you being the Pac-12 deferred.
Yeah. And, listen,
the sole mission is to get to what, 8 full share members. That's your sole mission. So whatever way you got to go to get there, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I look at what is left in places like the Sun Belt, or because that's where Texas State is. I don't know that Troy moves the needle. I don't know that like James Madison, Marshall's so far off the radar. Like it's really tough to pull that down, and you start looking at some of the other names, and I just don't know how you. I mean, if you're North Dakota State, is that a move you want to make after being it's 7-1 in conference, 14-2 overall? Do you want to go lose big for several years? I don't know that you want to do that.
No, you don't.
I don't know that you want to do that. And I just don't. I hope we don't get to a point where we're just decimating every lower level conference. Because if you're the Missouri Valley Conference, what do you do if North Dakota State leaves? Right? Has anybody put any thought into that at all? At some point, when does the attrition stop?
Never.
And maybe it does. Maybe never's the answer.
Never. I mean, this. Over the weekend, I don't know how many people saw this. UVU. I can't remember if it was all their athletics or just some of them. I'd have to go back and look. But join the Big West, and there was a lot of talk about consolidation and so I think this question about attrition and change and consolidation, the answer is never. I think that unfortunately, again, this is why you have to win as much as you can, so that way you're not on the bottom of the conference stack nationally speaking. Because if you're on the bottom of the conference stack nationally speaking, then you're, it's that old adage, you don't want to be the nicest house on a crappy block, right? You want to be the worst house on like the $1 million block. And that's what I feel like college football is. If you're in a smaller conference and you start losing schools, now that conference right above you is going to start taking all those schools.
And isn't North Dakota State FCS anyway? The money that it would take to move up, it just is. I don't know. I think we're all guessing and playing games. That's a long road, dude. They're 14-2 and championship caliber every single year. London was awesome. Trying to explain college football to some prems is like trying to explain the color blue to a blind person. There you go. There you go. I love London, man. Just it is. Oof, I do love it. Big Blue Horses, Super League, NFL style, cannot get here fast enough. 120 million buy-in and let the chips fall where they may. There you go. I think it's on the way. I don't know what the structure looks like, or
it's certainly on the way.
The more private money comes in, the more you got to pay private money. Don't forget that. These guys don't invest their money not to make a profit. Private money is a for-profit business. And I think eventually the yield has to meet a certain level. And I think the only way that happens is if you're making more money, playing more games, and that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Deliric, how about a ACC Big 12 merger would be interesting? I just think there's too many egos.
The question of why.
Yeah.
Why?
What's the upside there? You have so many ACC schools that I just think don't have an appetite to compete at the upper levels in all sports. And I think Brett Yormark's made it very clear with his comments of late. Hey, every sport, every dribble, pass, kick, bounce matters. And I think he's exactly right. I mean, you have a softball pitcher at Texas Tech making $1 million in NIL. And there were schools competing for her. So the money is just, it's monopoly money is the best way I can put it.
It's not real.
It's not real. It makes no sense to us. Stadium Guy James, was I wrong that the original Pac-12 could have taken Texas, OU, Oak State, and Texas Tech? I was under the impression those were the four that were in discussion. What And again, this goes back to my time at the good old 1320K fan. I told you guys in 2015 that it was talking Texas, BYU, Oklahoma, and somebody else were talking about joining the Pac-12 and creating a super conference. And that was from a really high-ranking school official who was like, yeah, we're way down the road on that. And that never came to fruition. They couldn't get everybody on the same page. And
shocking.
Can you imagine BYU, Texas? The problem was that, and I know Oak State fans aren't going to want to hear this, but Mike Gundy is so difficult to deal with. The guy just does not live in the real world. And you look at the way he's completely flip-flopped on OU.
I'm a man.
I think Oklahoma State was attractive to a certain point. And if you couldn't get Texas, that deal was not going to happen. That whole thing was predicated on Texas. As
usual.
And I know that it pisses people off. It was predicated on Texas and ultimately OU. But you look at the harsh words that Mike Gundy used to describe Oklahoma, and I'll never understand why he did it. I think it was so incredibly damaging. Well, hell, Kalani and Witt. You look at the way those two guys talk about their opponents, and you look at the way that Saban and Kirby talked about each other, and the people who achieve at the highest levels understand that henpecking your opponents that you're envious of in their ankles is not the way that you raise. It's not the way you rise, right? The way you rise is you're humble, and you work hard, and you do the job. And guys like Mike Gundy have never been able to pick up on that. And it's why you can, and I just think Mike Gundy is a good example of this. You get to a certain level and you can't achieve past it. And so there becomes this tipping point, right? Like, hey, we've gotten here and now we plateaued. Kyle Whittingham. But what did Kyle Whittingham do? He went and won the conference and went to back-to-back Rose Bowls. Did he win them? No, he did not. But did he get to the Rose Bowl? Did he win the conference? Yes, he did.
Dabo before and after NIL was in existence.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so you hear guys like Mike Gundy talking about how he doesn't need and Oak State fans don't want. That's exactly the problem. Oh, man, we love Oklahoma. They've done such great things in this state for football. And that's the tact you want to take. You don't want to hear about how Ollie Gordon isn't going to miss any playing time, and we've all done that 1,000 times. You don't want to hear that stuff. When you have issues like you have in the Big 12, you have to be humble and decisive. And I think if we're talking about, OU, Oak State, Texas Tech, and Texas Tech was never, in my opinion, in that conversation. I think Texas was uniquely experienced in the behemoth that was Bronco Mendenhall and BYU football. And remember what was happening with BYU football at that time. BYU had gone down to Austin to play Texas and beat Texas. Taysom jumped over the Longhorns. Remember that famous leap? But what did Bronco Mendenhall do before that game? Does anybody remember? He gave a very damaging, begging interview to the Austin American-Statesman about getting into the Big 12. And I think if Bronco never does that interview, BYU today is in the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 survives. The old Pac-12 would still be here if they had put BYU in that conference. Not because BYU was bringing millions of fans to the TV. They were. Not because they travel like an army. They do. But because BYU's business ability, their business acumen, simply what they did at BYU TV and on social media was so severely lacking in the Pac-12, they could have instantly changed the fortunes of the Pac-12 network, because the Pac-12 has also always struggled to create extra content, social media. The old Pac-12 always struggled with that. And BYU was just BYU, for those of you who don't know, is a marketing genius. That university, what they did with BYU TV, what they did as an independent, it was all smoke and mirrors. It was marketing. It was branding. They got them bigger games. Hey, we put 1 million people on ESPN. First thing Tom Homo does is sign this massive deal with ESPN. What the heck is ESPN doing with BYU? Well, it turns out BYU put 1 million people on the TV every time they play.
And now you have your answer.
Right? If the Pac-12 had added BYU in Texas and the smattering of others, that league is still in business today. And the Big 12 is not. And they didn't, so they're not. The Big 12 is. And BYU is a vital part of the Big 12. They are just a vital part of what that league. Frankly, both BYU and Utah are vital parts. That the decimation of Utah's bad year last year, man, just incredible. Calford gives 20 Monty. Let's go. Appreciate you very much. Dude. Thank you. Let's run through some comments. You guys, thank you so much for all the comments today. As usual, Big Sky merges with the Mountain West. No, I don't think so. It's really difficult. And I just continue to tell you this. Like, if you look at the Big Sky, it's very difficult to jump up from that level to the place where you can actually compete on a at the top of college football, even at the top of the G5, because obviously on a map, the Big Sky's fantastic, but it's Weber State, Idaho State, Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona. Like, you have these smaller schools, Eastern Washington, Portland State. You have these smaller schools that really have to just change the way they're doing business. Change, and it's existential. It is their existence. You look at Sacramento State, look at UC Davis. Like, UC Davis, you guys probably don't even know. That's the University of California at Davis. Is an agriculture behemoth. Really well heeled, really well funded, and they bounced it around significantly about how to do that. And so you're looking at people like, again, Boise State used to be a member of the Big Sky, right? Like, you move on from those conferences, but the entire conference doesn't move on. It's very difficult when you look at the way that those smaller conferences operate. The money just is so small. The money spent, the bus rides, the forever long bus rides through really cold climates. That's not a way to exist. It doesn't even come close. Angelo, Pac-12 needs to add a team from the 51st state. How about Simon Fraser University? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say, man.
51st state,
sure. Man.
The 51st state. Like, stop. Like, do you hear yourself when you say stuff like that? The 51st state. Andrew Watt says hello. Well, hello, Watt.
Well, hello there.
Well, hello there, sir. But Monty, shout out Calford. Big time shout out Calford. Good to see you, Calford.
Shout out to Mobamba.
ACC Gumby, I would have loved the league. Hella good rivalries for TV. Seriously. Facts. The eye patch. What years are you talking about this merger into the Pac-12? Like 20, I want to say it was 2015, 2014, 2015.
It was I believe pre-YouTube for all those trying to find it.
No, yeah, it was while I was at 1320K fan.
Yeah.
Like, it was back in the radio days. And I got mocked for it. It's on my Twitter feed. Go look it up. People didn't believe me, were laughing at me, like telling me I'm an idiot. Okay. Look at that then and now, and how much of that has happened. Like, it's what I continue to tell you guys. These relationships and conversations are not new. These conversations have been happening for decades. How can we get in business together? How can we do business together? How can we, and BYU in particular, with their church reach that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has, Texas is absolutely pivotal. BYU does big business in Texas. Go look at the recruiting roles. Texas, Southern California, Arizona, places where you have big population centers for the church. You're always going to have reach. You're always going to have ground support because you've got people on the ground building the brand. It's why BYU is so enormous. And I just don't think people understand. It's the Jake Retzloff conversation.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, you got to let it get played out in court. Actually, you don't. You don't. BYU doesn't operate in the real world. They operate in their own world. BYU does not operate like Utah does. They operate like BYU does. People try to link BYU and Utah as this same. They could not be more different. They could not be more different. Go find me a party on the, like if you walk around campus at Utah, the University of Utah, there are parties at houses where people are openly drinking, smoking. Do you know the absolute avalanche of assets and resources BYU would bring down on you if you had a party at a house on campus that was fully stocked with beer and alcohol and people were smoking and making out and I'm having sex in the back bedroom? Do you understand? The world would not exist anymore. Like that it's a different world. And it should be, because those are the values of the LDS Church and they should never be questioned. I feel terrible for Jake Retzloff on some levels. He put himself in this situation. He can never play football at BYU again. He certainly can't play football this year. I don't know how you would even extricate yourself from that situation if you're Jake Retzloff, because you signed the honor code. Again, in our YouTube comments over the weekend, people are like, well, he's Jewish, he's not Mormon, which means absolutely nothing. If you are a student, not an athlete, and I think this is important, not an athlete, if you are enrolled at a BYU university, you sign the honor code, live a chaste lifestyle, no sex outside of marriage. And in most corners of those university campuses, you are not allowed to be alone with a member of the opposite sex who is not your wife or husband in your dorm room, in your off-campus apartment. And when there are allegations of a heinous sexual assault, true or not, guarantee you the honor code was violated.
Yep.
Does the church want to be seen to do business with somebody who is accused, guilty or innocent? I'm not saying he's guilty or innocent. Somebody that is accused of a heinous sexual assault. And guess why I'm bringing this up? Because what did the folks at the Pac-12 say? Because remember, 2014, 2015, what was the Pac-12? A liberal enclave. We're not going to restrict people's religious freedoms. We're not. BYU, what are you doing with the LGBTQ community over there in Provo? Those are the conversations that were being had. The weird underpants people. Well, maybe you guys let that caffeinated beverages on campus. We can talk. That's what the Pac-12 was doing. And I think ultimately that's why it never happened.
Just to confirm your old Twitter days.
Mm-hmm.
September 15th of 2016, you tweeted that about BYU and others joining the Pac-12 in a potential super conference setup. And by the way, I also might add in 2016, since we're by the weighing our way through the show today, you also tweeted that in 2016, October 15th, that you had confirmed with sources that BYU and Houston are the next candidates for Big 12 expansion. So just saying.
It was almost 8 years ago.
Just saying.
9 years ago. These conversations have been going on forever. Forever and ever. And that happened, 5-6 years later?
Yeah.
It's not accidental. And again, if you're BYU, these are the foundations, not that the football team is built on. The church is built on these. You cannot change them. You should not change them. BYU should never waver on the honor code, not for a student, not for a student athlete, not for anybody. Because this is, whether you're religious or faithful or a member of the LDS community or not, this is who BYU is, and they should never deviate from that. This is their soul. The honor code, rock solid. Don't deviate from it. I don't care if it costs you a football game. And I can tell you
on that hill.
The quorum doesn't give a rat's ass if it costs a football game. Because I know this is hard to believe. The people at the top of the church, oh, they love BYU football. Do you think they care if BYU wins every game if they have somebody in that situation? They'd rather lose every game and not have somebody in that situation. I think it is what it is. Arlington Bears. Oh, boy. Had to bring up the name Arlington Bears. Good to see you, Chris. Hey, fellas, Cubs are up 1-0. I don't stop by often in the afternoons, but fly the Monty W, my guy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm trying not to piss off Monty here by putting the game on. I didn't want to,
Not put Cubs games on
while we're doing the show.
He just does not.
Instead, we're going to put on NHL on TNT Face Off.
He does not want me watching Cubs games. But yeah, listen, I am excited. I'll be back in Chicago for the 4th of July. We have the Cardinals in town. I'm excited about that. This is not the year that the Cubs are going to win the whole thing. The Cubs desperately need to build a pitching staff.
Well, listen, this is the Tigers' year, clearly. So, yeah. I mean,
And hey, if you're a Tiger fan and you want to celebrate winning 2 or 3 from the Cubs at home.
Okay. Sorry, not to totally sidetrack everything. I just want to give you some more flowers here while I'm perusing around Twitter.
Oh, boy.
The great Tony Jones, who I respect a lot.
I think one of the best basketball writers in the country, Tony Jones, The Athletic. Go subscribe.
Now, we would never say I told you so, right? You know that's not a thing on the show.
Please.
That's not a thing on the show.
Is this a Lori Markkinen story?
No, but up that alley.
Okay.
I would like you to guess the names. The Jazz will try, quote, pretty hard to trade 2 names.
Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson.
Bam. Boom.
I would never.
Boom. Out of here. Just saying. I mean, it must be the greatness. Right. It must be the greatness of Austin Ainge. I mean, clearly he's brought clarity to this situation.
We are never right. Thanks for stopping by, Arlington Bears. Yeah, Chris Carm, when are we going to get back together on the golf course, man? My game is in much better shape than it was last time you saw me. Good Lord. Utah and BYU will be good this year. I think so. BYU. Yeah. Let's see what happens with Jake Retzloff. Let's see what happens. BYU football. Hello. It was a Longhorn network that killed the deal. There were a lot of reasons that deal got killed. And I think it was very clear BYU was willing to eliminate their tier 3 rights to get into the Pac-12. And I think there were a lot of corners of that conference that everybody hides behind, like Sunday play. Come on. Toot pants. The original Pac-12 Texas OU Exeter merger idea was 2010, and then follow-up 2012. Both times the Pac-12 and Texas couldn't finish the deal. I think one of the major issues, and I think BYU, my memory's hazy, this was so many years ago. But so many years ago, the Pac-12 just was not aggressive in distribution. And I can't speak directly to the Longhorn Network, but it was a lot of effort to produce, like, for instance, BYU soccer games. BYU put a lot of money into producing BYU TV live sports. And it used to be a big flipping deal when Greg Wrubell would go and call a BYU soccer game on BYU TV, and it's a big flipping deal, right? And the Pac-12 just could never, at least under Larry Scott, I think it improved a tiny bit under George, but Larry Scott could never get his hands around the idea that the Pac-12 was an amazing product, and it didn't matter how amazing it was when you're sitting in a boardroom negotiating a deal.
Back of the envelope calculations.
You are worth what somebody was willing to pay you. And
that wasn't 50 mil a year.
And Larry could never get his head around that. He just wouldn't do it. It was before Nebraska left for the Big Ten 2013. Nebraska going to the Big Ten probably killed it personally. I think that's completely false. Because Nebraska, and this is another thing that people laughed at me about, Nebraska was hesitant to leave the Big 12. They went for a payday, and they've always been an awkward fit in the Big Ten. And I've said repeatedly, Nebraska would love nothing more than to get back to the Big 12. But how do you leave that paycheck behind? You don't. I think if you said to Nebraska, Oklahoma, maybe Texas is so arrogant in its administration and the way they do business, but you look at the universities who left the Big 12. I mean, the A&Ms, the Missouris, the Nebraskas, can you think of what that league would be? I mean, you'd be talking about the best football league in the country.
Yeah, college football would look very different.
But
no but Monty's.
Yeah. The eye patch. Well, if you're talking about those years, then do remember what school put the kibosh on TDS joining the Big 12. I think there were many people who thought the kibosh. I think ultimately Texas didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I think the timing of Texas leaving and BYU entering was not accidental. And I think that everything happens in its own time and space. There are no accidents. I'm a big believer in that. On the Retzloff thing, the Y is going to have to wait on the Title IX investigation before they make any move. If they boot him, it's going to look like an admission of guilt. I don't think they will boot him ever. I will maintain my prediction is Jake Retzloff has chosen to withdraw from BYU so he can focus on his personal life, on his issues away from football.
He will then disappear for a while and keep training and stay in football shape. And then he will resurface at a time to be determined down the road.
I think he will be a hired gun. And I think he will play one more year of college football, not this season, but the season after. Because my guess is it's really hard in a civil proceeding. And I don't know, again, why this is so hard for people to grasp. Jake Retzloff has not been accused of a crime by any law enforcement agency. There are no charges pending against him. This is a civil proceeding. Look at OJ, look at Kobe, you name it. Do you know how difficult it is? Donald Trump. Do you know how difficult it is to win in a civil proceeding when you've been accused of sexual assault? Do you know how difficult that is to win?
Good luck.
Why do so many settle? And I go back to Kobe. I was there every day with Kobe when he was going through that. That guy, I've never seen anybody maintain their innocence more than Kobe Bryant. And he settled. Because it just becomes too much. And do I know that Jake is going to settle? I have no idea what Jake Retzloff's going to do. He's got a guy that is very experienced in the Derrick Rose situation, defending him. I think it's very difficult to win those cases because, again, remember what we're talking about. If you're somebody that believes, hey, Jake's going to play at BYU, because there's a ton of BYU fans who believe that. He is going to be proven innocent. Okay. So if Jake Retzloff goes to court and fights this in public, can he ever play at BYU again? No, he can't. Because I have a hard time believing, and this is my opinion. I am not stating this as fact. This is my opinion. I think sexual contact happened. Does that mean actual physical sex? Hey, put this there and I have no idea. But if he had a woman of the opposite sex alone with him in his apartment,
it's over. You're done.
Is that a chaste lifestyle? No, it's not.
You are not the guy.
And do you know how long it will take to go to court? And if he does, in fact, go to court, and I think the discovery process clearly is different in civil cases than criminal. But I'm just telling you, the kid, I mean, there's just no way for him to.
There is no winning, bro. There's no
for
winning.
anybody involved
Like,
here.
literally, there's no winning.
Like, this woman will get a paycheck if she wins. That's what everybody will say, win. This woman will get a paycheck. Then what? Then what? Because she's going to get taken apart. She's from Salt Lake City, apparently. So she's got to live here. He's not worth tens of millions of dollars. She's not getting a lifetime of revenue. He's not an NFL quarterback. What I think she was asking for $3 million or something like that.
Yep. $300,000 per instance.
And if in fact she is found, if Jake Retzloff is found to be responsible for a heinous sexual assault of this woman, then she was heinously sexually assaulted. And she's got to live with that. $3 million ain't buying you out of that mentally. Like, there's no winner here. He goes to trial. He wins. Is that winning? No, because he's always going to be the guy who sexually assaulted that girl in his
Whether
apartment.
you won or lost, you are still in that apartment alone with that girl doing things you shouldn't be doing.
Because but even more than BYU, just in life, anybody that Google searches Jake Retzloff, that's going to be one of the first things that come. Jake Retzloff accused of heinous
Well, but
sexual.
let me clarify, because what did I say the first time we ever talked about this, when it first popped up, that first show? One of the first things I said was, yeah, there's the BYU portion, but as a dude, this was a bad decision any way you want to slice this thing, man. Like, hey, I'm, because again, this was 2023. So if you wind the clocks back 2 years or so, year and a half, hey, you're 20 months, 24 months from getting into the draft, and this is what you're doing. Like, you made a bad decision here as a guy, as a professional athlete. I don't care if he's in college, he's a professional athlete. Like, you didn't have what you've always characterized on the show as a no guy. You didn't have that person that said, hey, dude, I totally get it. You're a SoCal kid. You're in Salt Lake, and more specifically, you're in Provo.
Hey, I get it. She's hot.
Like, I get it.
But you can't. I'm not leaving. She's got to go. Right? And this girl, if we believe her story, how did her friend leave her there? It just, nobody wins. I totally agree with it. I totally agree with what you guys are saying. All right, let's get a couple more. I really appreciate all the comments. This is one of the main reasons why women do not report sex abuse, especially if the predator is famous. This is why the SLCPD should be under immense scrutiny. What do they have to do with it?
What are you talking about, dude? This has nothing to do with the Salt Lake City Police Department.
Did not happen in Salt Lake City. I spoke with my kid about the situation. I pray they never have to deal with it. I think you're very smart for that. Fight on Natty. So I guess this Washington guy is like a stalker or something, bro. Yeah, I guess so. I will again say, whatever happens in the comments section, knock yourself out, man. Comment as much as possible, please. It helps the channel grow. And I always wonder about people that have these weird obsessions. Thankfully, it doesn't happen to us very often. You get the Ferris Khans of the world, but that's a Michigan thing. That's not an us
I
thing.
wouldn't say that's
You look at, and I
have.
haven't seen one of his comments at all.
Yeah, what?
Let's see. Washington Jason.
Okay,
now.
so now this is a different account now. I just want to point that out again.
Washington
This is now
Jason.
a different account that this person has.
Hey, how do you say you and little Jakey don't block people? I can tell you very confidently, on no platform do I block people.
Yeah.
I mute people 100%, but I don't, on like Twitter, I don't even read my notifications. I don't read notifications or DMs. I don't. It's one of the most horrendous platforms in the world. And yet we have a massive viewership on it, and I appreciate everybody who views our show there. You will not find me in the notifications. That's not happening. But you block those who speak out. I have not blocked anybody. If you're blocked on one of the platforms that I'm on, you said something or did something that got you blocked.
Yeah. Again, why would we block people?
Why it block? And again, this tells you that weirdo Washington Jason doesn't understand how YouTube works. I don't have to block anybody. Why would I want to block you? Because
So let me get this right.
You and your little boy can't handle the heat. Why would I want to block you?
How many? So you now have 3 accounts that we know of.
Yeah.
That have all commented and subbed to this channel to hate on the channel. Why would we block you, dude? Why would we block you?
Do you understand that comments are critically important to the YouTube algorithm?
Do you understand? You just created an account. Let me make this crystal clear for you. You just created a new account that didn't exist on YouTube, right? To come in here to watch the show for as long as you have now on that new account, which YouTube registers as a new listener on our channel.
Who's subscribed, because the only way to comment, you have to be subscribed for at least a minute. That's the only way you can comment. So you've created multiple accounts, which if YouTube finds that you've done that, you'll get blocked. We don't have to block you. You're commenting from multiple accounts, and you think we're going to block you when every time you comment, you tell YouTube this is a good program and I'm interacting with it. Every time you subscribe, you tell YouTube, hey, this is a good program. I'm interacting with it. Every single time. That's what you do.
Why would we block you?
Why would I block you?
You're making us, dude.
YouTube, I'll even take you behind the curtain. YouTube gives us settings. How heavily do you want us to police your comment section? And we block every comment that's pornography. YouTube tells you straight away, hey, you're at this level. Emojis, I can tell you emojis is the number one people get blocked, why people get blocked. And we've unblocked a bunch of people that YouTube has blocked or filtered. The word is filtered. You're put in like a timeout.
Yeah.
And if we go and look at the timeout thing, which I don't ever do because it's just not worth it. If you get put in timeout, you've worked hard to get there. Because I've told everybody, hey, don't comment with just emojis, multiple emojis. Like if you do that, you're going to get filtered. But other than that, you really got to go out. You got to curse a lot. You have to use incendiary language. You have to use racist language.
Which again is not unique to YouTube.
No,
like
you have to
every platform has that.
You have to go out of your. We have our filter as low as possible.
Yeah.
And all we exclude is pornography. That's it. Which is why, if you've been a long timer, you know that we used to have like bots in our chat. That's why we did that. And then once we got to 100,000 subscribers, they give you just so many more tools to police and it's called moderate your comment section. So, dude, you go, you do you.
Keep knocking it down, bro.
Blocking people in our business is really bad business. It's real because you can't. If I block you, like on X or
TikTok,
you'll never find me blocking people on TikTok ever. All you need is people to look at your content and you make money. It's as simple as that. So it just shows you the level that people, and for somebody like Jason Washington, I just ask you, dude, I'm really sorry you're so unhappy. Like to go to this level that because we know who this is.
Yeah, we know who this is.
I'm not going to say anybody's name. We know who this guy is. And you just continue to do this on.
And this isn't your first rodeo doing this, by the way.
No. And then the funny thing is we see this guy in person. He's like, oh, you guys are great. And so I finally said to this dude one time, why do you say the same thing over and over again? Oh, I'm just being funny. You're not, dude. You legitimately are upset. Or I think what it is you're probably jealous.
I don't know what else it would be, bro. I have no idea.
Go live your life. Go do your thing, man. It is kumbaya to me. It's not personal. I don't know this particular person personally. We're not friends. We're not, Anyway, okay, just looked it up. Provo PD needs to be under immense scrutiny. Good God, my bad. I don't think Provo PD needs immense scrutiny. And what Eye Patch is talking about is the girl that is suing Jake Retzloff in civil court put a filing out there that said, oh, the Provo police told me not to push this further because something to the effect of sexual assault victims never get justice is what was written in the filing.
Right.
And the Provo Police Department came out and said, okay, well, here it is. Hey, we asked her for the guy's name. She didn't want to give it. We told her, hey, there could have been another assault. We want to know if this is the same, person. Eventually, the claim is that she gave them Jake Retzloff's name, and the Provo Police Department came straight out and bluntly said, in the evidence we collected, because a rape kit was done, so I'm assuming that rape kit is in this evidence statement, where they said there was no actionable evidence. There was no actionable evidence, which is essentially saying there's no evidence to back up the claims that she made, which is why I'm guessing there was no prosecution. And if the Provo police did what she said they did in the filing, they committed Title IX federal
offenses, man.
It just, nobody's going to put their entire police department on the line for that, So this guy personally, the plot that I don't know him personally. No. He is somebody that's been a listener of our show.
We know of him, but we don't know him personally.
Don't know him personally.
Yeah.
And I think he's come to some of our events.
He has.
It's really strange. Yellow. I love O-State OOC this season. Okay. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Cam Harrison, what's up? Good afternoon, guys. Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Okay. Where have you been, Cam?
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
There it is. Hey, way to be Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah.
Over under, Jason puts Zins in his butt. Well, I don't know. I don't make it personal. Why do people have to say the same damn thing over and over? It annoys the hell out of me. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Bro, you of all people can't be commenting this, dude. With all due respect.
I agree.
Come on, dude.
I agree.
Come on.
All right. Let's get your NHL prize picks, because then I do want to get to the NBA. Because the Tyrese Halliburton argument we've been having for several weeks, I think played out in pretty big fashion over the weekend. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Make sure you download the app. Use the promo code Monty, M-O-N-T-Y Monty. You deposit $5, you get 50 more instantly.
Doll hairs.
I am heavy NHL tonight. Let's see. I love the goaltender saves. I think Stuart Skinner at 27 goaltender saves.
Real quick, who do you think wins this series? Do you think it's?
I think Edmonton.
You still think Edmonton wins this series?
Yeah, I think with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl playing the way they are, and Nurse playing as well as he is, Stuart Skinner playing as well as he is, they can go to Florida and get a win. That's not going to be easy. Not at all.
I mean, that's all they have to do to start to get it to basically be a 3-game series.
Yeah, they need to go. They need to win. It would be really big if they won tonight. To be, these games, you guys, are so close. It's one turnover. It's one mistake. I mean, the overtimes have been unbelievable. So I'm going to go Stu Skinner. Stu Skinner, 27 saves. I'm going to go more. And then Connor McDavid, I'm going to go more than 1.5 points. He is averaging 2.2 in his last 5 games. And then I got to find somebody on Florida. I have
Bennett
to think.
On hits has been pretty reliable. I know a lot of people have been taking that, but.
Well, I also really like Sam Reinhart for 2.5 shots on goal. That could be a good one. I think this is going to be one of the. Man, the point one is really difficult.
What about Marchand shots on goal?
I will never take Marchand for anything. I hope he gets hit by a. I hope he gets hit by a Zam, dude.
What about Ekblad on hits? Because he's averaged 4.6 his last 5, and his line is 3.5.
I could see that. I think
I'm going to take that.
Man, this is tough to find. It's probably Evan Rodriguez 1.5 is a pretty good one. But it's man. I think this is what makes Florida so difficult is they get points in production so far across.
You never know who it's going to be, really.
I would agree. Seth Jones, I like a lot. Forsling's been very good. Maybe Forsling's the one. Maybe Forsling's the one that you could be like, yeah. Oh, it's so difficult. Maybe shots. What about ice time? We could go.
I went with you on Skinner, more than 27 saves. I took Ekblad for more than 3.5 hits. And I took McJesus for more than 2.5 points tonight.
Yeah, I think I will go Barkov 1.5 shots on goal.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a good one.
The problem is it's a goblin. So I'll go 3 because I want it on it. Yeah, I'll go 3. Going back home, I'll go 3. Oh, this is tough. 20 to win 160 on Barkov, more than 2.5 shots. Connor McDavid, 1.5 points. And Stu Skinner, more than 27 saves.
There you go.
Submitting it. My 6 win streak is on the line. There you go. My 6 win streak is on the line. Are you guys? Is there any doubt? Is there anybody here who prefers the NBA over the NHL?
Not this year.
I think the
NHL,
Stanley Cup final has been so good.
Oh, I think it's been must-watch TV. I think it's been that good. I think that the drama in double OT is wild. When you've got the broadcast talking about how they're so tired that they're basically going down one end, coming back the other, and getting off, and it's like a 35-second shift like that. When I heard that, I was like, wow, dude, like this game is in the way that Florida won that game, that little, just the tiniest mistake to open the window to score was incredible. So I don't think it's even this year. I don't even think it's close.
Oh, wait. Jason Washington has proven his intelligence level again. Daddy and his little boy just get on YouTube and read comments for 3 hours. Damn right. Damn right, because it's called interaction. People actually comment on the show. I know you don't know what it's like to have people like you. I get that. And you struggle with that. But I know. And I can tell you today on the show alone, we have over 1,100 comments.
Have we read 1,100 comments, though?
We have not. We have not. You know, because all we do is, and I probably should read more of them because all we do,
you know,
dude, you're making me. You're not breaking me.
Yeah, you're making the point, dude.
It's so good. Jason, and they make money doing it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, this is my point, dude. This is what we're saying. Is like I just don't understand like what.
Yeah.
You know.
Who is this guy making fake accounts? Pure weirdo. You got me, Gabriel. This is what you spend your time doing, and I think it's hysterical. That's right. Leave Jakey alone. You're on the verge of tears.
Oh, hang on. I'm just really emotional and heartbroken, and it's with great regret that I, continue to read the comment section.
I know. I know it's rough.
Wow, dude.
I know it's rough.
Wow.
Laurie to the Pistons. No, I don't think so. We'll see. The Kevin Durant trade has to get done. You know, there's that one deal in the NBA every summer that holds everything up. The Kevin Durant deal's got to get done. Again. Because somebody's got to take Brad Beal to get that deal done. And Big Daddy Magic, you'll be thrilled. I can't remember who it was today saying that Kevin Durant is amenable to going to
Bill Simmons was reporting
San Antonio.
Bill Simmons claims that Phoenix and San Antonio already have a deal done, and it's just not being announced because they're going to wait to do it right before the draft. That's what he's claiming.
Yeah.
So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm just saying that's what the claim is.
But Monty, Jason subbing and commenting is like a Ute fan joining BYU's NIL collective to get insider info and then debunk it. I mean, it's so true.
Funny, dude. I just My question is, what do you hope to get out of this? That's the portion I don't understand. Like, is it just fun for you? If it's fun for you, that's great.
And the best part is he's bitching. All we do is read comments, and everybody else usually bitches. You guys don't read enough comments.
Yeah, you don't read enough comments. And then there's guys like James who are like, you didn't read my whole comment, Monty.
What do you want from me? Okay, let's see. Calford gifted 20 more Monty Show memberships. Wow.
Okay.
Let's go. Appreciate that. Jake's only flaw is loving PXG more than I. Are you? We are going to Paris. We are going to Paris this year. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Luis Enrique also gifts 5 Monty Show membership.
I'm not going to play it because it's
you're so weak.
Yeah,
Jake.
You're
stop riding my coattails.
It's so, to come in
he
here.
He says you say right all the time,
or
right?
I say right or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Luis Enrique gives 5 Monty Show memberships.
Oh shit! Damn, I am tripping.
Thanks, bro.
Let's see. Maury Alvarez, a member of the show for 29 months. Wow.
Yeah, Maury I believe is in competition with
Lopes Van Gabe.
Ledley. Yeah, Lopes Van Gabe for longest membership on the program right now.
Yeah, because all we do is read comments, you guys.
Yeah, so let's keep reading comments.
Yeah. I make great comments and you never read them. I know. We are just because I'm always having to carry Jake.
Yeah.
Because all he says is and by the way.
You know what that's like these days?
It's just so funny to me. Wasikowski, NHL has better finals. I agree, Eric. Dude, by a lot. Did you see Jonathan Taves is looking at Winnipeg over Toronto?
How, dude?
Right? How? Weird moving from a hockey state to still being in a hockey. Well, have you enjoyed Florida? Because Eric Wasikowski, for those who don't know, he's a Michigan fan. So Lions, University of Michigan, Red Wings, Tigers, Pistons, occasionally Michigan State.
Yeah.
But he just moved to Northern Florida. And so it's been interesting to follow your feelings on how your life has changed from the state of Michigan to the state of Florida. Yes, Luis Enrique, he did stop your... I am the first. Are you the first member? I thought it was Gabe, but hey, either way, man, we appreciate you both. Check the tape.
Check the tape.
That's
Monty.
right. That's right. That's right. Always good to see you, Maury. Hope the family's well. Gumby says every time Monty skips my comment, I feel like calling Jack to rage. Exactly right.
Yeah, Jack.
Calling Jack to rage. Exactly right. Exactly right. Pontiff, I am in the running for that long time. Yes, you are.
You are.
My God.
You are.
And we saw you at Rio Tinto. We saw it, or wasn't it America First Field at that point? When we did the soccer get together, and I have the scarves at home back at the Monty crib. Oh boy. Hey y'all. Hey Shouty. Good to Shouty, a long timer as well. The eye patch. Esteke va Frégin la Francois. That's what
such as in like.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Calford. He reads all my blue cheese comments. That's the only one.
We have here's the checking the tape so we're all on the same page.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Are you gonna go ahead?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals in a tie as longest members by month. I don't have the ability to narrow it down by day. As long times, which would be Mr. Preston at 29 months. Nate Davis at 29 months.
Nate Davis, yes.
Maury Alvarez at 29 months.
Let's go.
The great Jaron Eccles.
Jaron Eccles. My guy.
Nameless School at 29 months.
I like it.
Giggity. And then, of course, Lopes Van Gabe. And unfortunately, Brandon Big Pontiff is 28 months.
Brandon, be better.
Yeah. So... I think that you may be just like a day off or like 2
Look
days
at my guy,
off,
Lamont Tucker. Look at Lamont Tucker. 22 months.
Let's go, baby.
22 months. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, wait, what did you say? Jeff Woodworth says, hello from the bidet in Japan. Are you in Japan? I am so disappointed.
Can we not?
I love
Can we
Japan.
not do crapper talk today?
Yeah.
You know,
Stay hard.
Come on, dude. Team lean or team stand, Monty?
You guys curse too much. I'm
Yeah.
sure we do.
And you don't read my comments.
I'm sure we do. Right? I'm sure we do. Brandon Big Pontiff says, till the dawn 13th. That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
How many more days do you have left? That's right. Can you guys believe it is already the middle of June?
Yeah.
It is June 9th.
I don't want to talk about it. It's rough, dude.
Gabriel, I bought tickets to Japan yesterday. Gosh, stop. I love Japan. I want to go. My wife has been, and I cannot wait to have her tour guide me around Japan. I am so excited. We have a lot of travel coming up. Japan is so on my bucket list. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about it so much. Too late for that, Jakey, Woodworth says.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we got to get crapper talk on today. You know?
That's right. Team lean to the left. No,
Yeah, see?
team stand.
You know.
Got to be America's team.
Team stand.
You know.
Today's show is weird in a good way, bro. I know. All we do is read comments. So
Yeah.
the comment section. Johnny, thank you for that. Yeah, you know. But that's the thing. That's the beautiful part about guys like John. Dude, you do you. The comment section always regulates. I don't even hate it. Team Charmin. I will say.
I mean, that's a good quality
butt wipes.
TP. I don't disagree, but butt wipes are tough to beat.
Versus TP. There is a belief out there, not a belief. There's some scientific facts out there that say TP is better for your butthole than Zyn packages, but also TP is better for your butt than butt wipes because butt wipes ruin the ecosystem and cause hemorrhoids and fissures. So, you know.
Look here, man.
Yeah, but see, butt Monty, butt wipes for the win.
That's what I'm
I don't
saying,
even
dude.
disagree.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
You know, if you block people, you would have blocked me a long time ago. What? But we don't.
But we don't.
See, but
That-
Eric,
yeah, that's the thing, dude.
Here's the thing. Eric is a hardcore MAGA guy, Donald Trump supporter through and through.
And I'll give you your flowers on this. You die on that hill, and I give you a lot of respect for that because most people who won't live up to it when they start talking politics.
But we've had passionate exchanges. But it's never been like, F you, you're stupid. Like, it's just exchanges of ideas. And you say some things I would never say and I would never think. But isn't that what is supposed to happen? If you do not allow yourself to be impacted by thoughts that are not your own, if you don't listen to what other people say, especially, you know, like if you are on one side of an issue and you're listening to people on the other side to try and understand, not to prove them wrong, to understand. That's where the magic is in the middle. But we don't do that. And Eric, we've always had disagreements, but it's not like any of us have been like, get out of here. It's just an exchange of ideas. And it's what the haters don't understand. The comment section, yes, it's great because it drives interaction, but it exchanges ideas. And a lot of times you get exposed for who you are. And I think today is a perfect example of that. You get exposed for who you are, man. You know, Luis Enrique, Jake, did you tell Monty that Rocher was pronounced Rochette?
I did.
It's pronounced Rochette.
Yeah, I sent you the screenshot from the members only group.
It's Rochette.
The first time, so Derek Rocher is a member on this program and is in our members only group. And we were talking about this today. And he said that he claims the first time you ever said his name, you said Rochette.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
But then
you
corrected yourself to Rocher, and Rocher just is what stuck. But this is much like the Mitchell Trubisky thing, right? Or the Michael Malone thing. Rocher says it's Rochette. So,
hey, it's his name. So guess what? It's Rochette, Rocher. You know? Just don't go shut yourself over
right.
Shay.
Rochetting and stuff.
Came out wrong. But yeah, hey, I'm thrilled to hear that. Take a shower. Okay. I shower every day, probably to my detriment. And yes, I'm a butt sprayer in the shower. Big
I'm
believer in it.
a butt sprayer.
Hey, I got no dude. You got it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I've talked about this on the show before. If you are not cleaning,
Hugh Janus.
you're not cleaning that Grand Canyon, dude. It's not going to clean itself. I'm telling you now, and I'm not talking about poop. Hey, because I'm not spraying out the poop that goes in the toilet and stuff. I'm saying like the sweat and the I hiked 3 miles yesterday and it was hot. You're not getting in there, man. There's some malodorous.
Such as like.
Okay. Yes, Big Blue Horses, 75 days till college football. We should start the year with Notre Dame versus Miami every year. Notre Dame something.
Convicts and Catholics.
Not that we have a quarterback, but it's fine. Jeff Woodworth in Japan. Just got to Tokyo last night. Been in Osaka for a week.
Nice,
dude,
bro.
You're a stud.
Nice, bro.
You got to let me know how that goes. I am Trump for life. Okay, Big Daddy Magic. Hey, you know. Zin is a Bud wipe. There you go.
Bud wipe.
Dude, we were hiking yesterday. You meet some really interesting people hiking, right? We're hiking yesterday, and this dude has a tin of Zin in his pocket. And I'm like, you know he's going to shove that up his ass later. You know it, and I am a bad person.
Did you walk up to him and ask him?
No.
Hey, bro, do you put that in your butt?
Nope. Cha. Okay. But Monty, I don't want this to come across as sad, but I think of this chat as my community. Love you guys. Dude, it's what's great about the show. It's what makes the show. Do you know how many people, and I should be careful saying this, but do you know how many people have gotten into business together in our comment section?
Mm-hmm.
Multiple people have become business partners. Multiple people have, hey, let's go to a jazz game together. Hey, let's go to a football game together. Hey, like, it builds a community. It is. And so when people come in here and they're like, oh, you guys only read comments for 3 hours. Okay. Well, that's fine. Great. We have a great comment section. It's what I trust me, as somebody who sells our show and sells our show to distribution and listening, when people say, well, hey, you know, how do you guys get so much interaction? They quite literally ask us, how do you guys get so much interaction? Because we don't put on Jimmy, the average sports writer. We would rather talk to our comment section.
We clear on that?
Hey, well, we can do the show, but we can't do the comment section. Well, then you can't do the show.
I want better fucking execution.
And I'm not even joking with you. We could have much, much larger distribution, but we're not willing to eliminate our comment section. Those are facts.
Could have been on major networks, household names.
But we're not going to change our show. Our show is our show. We're not going to eliminate the comment section. Is what it is, right? Let's see. The Monty community is definitely a great one. We appreciate that. Calford with the tier. Okay.
Well,
even the Grand Canyon has a stream running through it. That's what I'm saying.
Bro.
You've got it. And I continue to tell people, if you don't have a body sprayer in your shower, you smell. It's as simple as that. You smell. So, you know, is what it is. I mean, I voted for Trump and I don't hate you for it. You got what you asked for.
Yeah, I don't hate you for it.
You know. If you have a sprayer and a shower, why wouldn't you use it? I have
excellent question.
But you claim you don't.
I use the sprayer, not as aggressively as you do on your butthole.
So you're not cleaning out the Grand Canyon.
Not as aggressively as you do.
What does aggressively mean?
You make it out like it's a you know, just every single time. And
it is. I know this is crazy. Maybe Washington Jason's right. Maybe you're a dirty fool.
You have a strict routine you follow in the shower.
I do.
I knew it.
I do.
I knew it.
Why is that?
Dave's in opposition.
Because some people do shower routines. I don't. I get in there. I enjoy the time. You know.
What you do in the shower and, you know, this forearm strength thing, you got to get to 21 times a month somehow.
You do. And it's important.
But I'm not a shower guy.
Yeah.
I get in the shower. I'm in there for I take long showers, and most of it because I get up at 4:45 every morning. I usually stand under a hot water shower for. This morning I did something I haven't done in a long time. I took a cold shower. The last minute and a half of my shower was in cold water. Makes a huge difference. But what I'm telling you is, I get in the shower and the first 3 minutes are just my face in water. I'm just trying to get my dopamine running and get that chemical reaction. Then I'm right on the body, on the hairspray, or on the shampoo, the hair wash, the body wash, the butt spray, and I'm out that piece. Today, I spent the last minute and a half in a cold shower, and it makes a world of difference. Jason Washington. Lil Jakey, you look scared, bud. Ask your dad for a hug.
Okay. I mean,
just keep going. Just keep
I
going.
mean, honestly, if that's the best material you have.
That's not very good.
Yeah.
I'd love Notre Dame versus Michigan in September to start the year. That would rock. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that Michigan doesn't have that level right now. There's too much going on.
John Famlor, did you take the Shinkansen from Osaka to Tokyo? I don't know what that means. I hope that's not a bad thing. Pontiff, ND don't need no quarterback. All we need is love. Hey, man.
Yeah, just text each other. Y'all suck, and you'll get in the national championship.
He's talking about the running back.
You know,
Heisman running.
Right.
Jason, you looking kind of sad and lonely and desperate. Slide into my DMs. But like, here's the thing with a guy like Jason. What's his comment about you being scared? Out yourself, dude. Tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, who are you?
Out yourself. Why are you hiding behind a fake name?
And then you're calling me scared.
Why are you hiding behind a fake name? Tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody what your issues are. I've got nothing to hide, but you won't do that. And that's the thing that's so funny. You'll create multiple YouTube accounts to come in, and you think, who are you, Ferris Khan? You think people don't know who you are, man?
Come on, bro.
What are you talking about? Like, it's just so funny to me. Definitely not using a fake name. No, Gumby, you are definitely not using a fake name. But Monty, yes, he did, Jeremiah. Yes, he did. Jeremiah, love. Jeremiah, he brought us together, but Monty. Okay.
That's right.
I'm in the middle of a conversation. Jason just bringing folks together at this point. He really is. He really is. I don't understand the energy of creating fake accounts to.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just do it on your normal account?
But yeah, why do you not have an account in your own name? I'm pretty sure that you used to. But the thing that's funny to me is people think, I think a guy like Jason or whatever thinks you come in here and you say things and it's like, oh, it's so hurtful. I'm going to say things that'll hurt their feelings. And it's like, dude.
And that'll make you feel better?
We've been doing this on this show in this incarnation for 11 years. I've been doing this it's the only job I've ever had. That was 14 or 15. I was quite literally emptying trash cans in a newsroom in suburban Chicago. Right? There's nothing
new.
You can say that I haven't heard already. I was a Chicago Cubs fan hosting the St. Louis Cardinals radio network. Do you think I haven't heard all this before? I was a Chicago Bulls fan in Sacramento hosting the pre and post game show for the Sacramento Kings. Do you think I haven't heard this before? You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. I love it. It just is what it is. All right. Tyrese Halliburton. Let's have the discussion about Tyrese Halliburton. Because you think he's a superstar, and I just think he's another player.
No, I don't think he's a superstar.
Okay.
I've never said that about Buddy. I think that Tyrese Halliburton is a star in the NBA. I think that you're right. He specifically in this series, but in he had stretches in other series, but this series has been magnified because of his poor play. He has not shown up. He has not been what they needed him to be in order to win the games. Now, they got away with it in game one, right? With the game winner there. Got away with it in game one. And then game two, you got your doors blown off. Now, I don't know what it takes to get Tyrese going. But what I do know is that, and this is where you and I agree on him, I think, is that he really thrives when the game is a bit chaotic. I would say that Tyrese Halliburton is not the guy who is like, oh, well, we're running half court sets. Like, I'm just going to come out here and dominate you like I'm LeBron or Michael or Kobe or KD or whoever you want to point to is on that level. Tyrese is the guy, though, that will burn you for 30 and 10 if you play sloppy basketball and if you give him opportunities. And then there are other nights where, he doesn't show up. The thing I like about him, though, is he doesn't go cry on the bench about it and get all pissy and be a poor teammate about it. He still shows up. Typically, he's pushing 10 assists a night. Typically,
I agree.
He's pushing 7-8 rebounds a night. And then on the great nights, as we've seen through the playoffs, he has triple doubles. So I think the guy is a star in the league. And we've talked about this. I know you agree with me on this. He at least has a personality. At least you can talk to Tyrese, and he'll give you the great interview and So I think when you talk about him being a star, I'm including the off the court stuff too, in the equation. SGA is a better player, clearly, right? I don't know who else you want to point to. He's not on the top players in the league level, but I definitely think he's on the same level as the second tier of players.
Like who? Devin Booker.
I think Book, just as a basketball player, is a better player.
Donovan Mitchell.
I think he's as good as Donovan Mitchell. Yes.
Jaylen Brown.
Jalen's a better defender.
I think Donovan Mitchell is a superior offensive player. I'm not even sure they're in the same conversation.
If we're talking about scoring, he's a better scorer. He's not a better overall offensive player.
I think he's a better passer. I think he's a better player on the break. I think the one thing that Tyrese Halliburton as a basketball player does, is he has the spontaneity and the creativity. That's the one thing that I would criticize Donovan for. Book's really got it. I think Devin Booker is a exponentially better player. The problem for Tyrese Halliburton is he's very defensible. And so he doesn't, like last night, he could not find a good look. And when he got an open look, he was rushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy had 5 points, I think, going to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's not that polished offense, like he's not that polished scorer that the other guys are. But that's what I think, that's what divides people when they talk about him, is we're so used to super polished scorer that's working out with Brickley and is just developing that side of the game. And I agree. The Pacers need him to be that. If he was the scorer that SGA is, this would be a totally different series.
That's a great point.
But
I agree.
He's not that guy yet. But I also think it's important to understand. I mean, how long? I don't know off the top of my head. What is he in his fourth season or whatever? He's not super old.
I think people
league.
forget he was formerly a Sacramento King.
Yeah, and then they traded him, so he's only most 5 years into the league.
He's only been at the level he's on this year, in my opinion, the creativity and the spontaneity in this moment. But isn't that what the NBA playoffs at the higher levels bring out in you?
Mm-hmm.
It brings out that we saw of him in the Cavs series,
right?
What we saw of him in the Knicks series with the toe on the line, but still hitting the shot that won game one. He was a dud.
Yeah.
And then he found a way to get that ball to the rim. The paint creativity where he can finish. And I agree with you.
He's got to be a better scorer. There's no doubt about it.
I agree with you, though. If he were SGA, this would be one of the best competed on the floor series we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is he's not. And my point about the Pacers is they're all the same guys. None of them are true stars. None of them are dominant players. They're all really good.
Yeah, they're definitely a team.
Yeah, and when you're going up against
yeah.
somebody like Donovan Mitchell, who everybody on that roster was hurt, you're going to win that series. When you're going up against a team that features a ball hog and a guy in Cat that just does not defend, you're going to win that series.
Mm.
Now you're going up against OKC, who I think was the best team in the NBA all year or close to it.
Agree completely, yeah.
And they're an elite defensive team, and they seem – I don't know how OKC plays at that level constantly. They just seem like they never run out of gas. And SGA, I saw some stuff last night that was some of those finishes were very Kobe, man. Like the hanging finish around the rim was very Mike. I know it's hard to believe that. I'm not saying he's as good as Kobe and Mike. He's got he's got the ability to elevate his game to that
his
level.
mid-range game is as good as anybody.
I
think. I mean, he just does it a little bit differently. Like, to me, Kobe and Mike, yes, they thrived in the mid-range, but they beat you with their explosiveness. Like, their first step was dynamite. They obviously the back to the basket game out of both of those guys is just absolutely
and the
ridiculous.
size.
And then the size.
The
of course,
size is the biggest difference.
Yeah.
But this series is a dud. It has the smallest television number for game one that we've had in years. And I don't want to say it's not an all-time record, but 8.9 million total viewers, averaging 4.7. That is a tiny
Well, let's
number.
be honest about what this series is, though. This is a series where everyone expects OKC to win. It's just a matter of how many games it's going to take. And that's the problem.
I said 5.
Yeah, and that's still a possibility. And I maintain that in sports, and this is why I think the Stanley Cup final is such a good comparison here, a contrasting comparison, is because we don't know who's going to win that series. They are super evenly matched. Yes, theoretically on paper, Edmonton has more talent, but that doesn't mean that's not how it works in hockey, right? It's such an even war of attrition when it's hockey that's why we tune in. In my opinion, this Stanley Cup final is appointment television. It's must-watch TV if you're a sports fan, and not just because it's Connor McDavid, not just because it's Draisaitl and Marchand and all those dudes on the Panthers, but more because you have two teams who competed for this very same trophy last year, and Edmonton came up short. And now here we are again, and we're getting all the videos that are coming out talking about how, I can't remember who it was, but one of the Florida Panthers, said to McDavid in an endearing fashion. He wasn't talking trash. He said in an endearing way, "Hey, I hope to see you back here next year." Like, he said something like that. And that's what I think makes hockey great at the end of the year, is the NBA has to have two things, in my opinion. You got to have big names. You got to have the best of the best in the NBA finals for people to care about it, number one. But then on top of that, there has to be a narrative or a storyline to go with it. It has to be LeBron versus the Warriors.
And yet, the Stanley Cup finals have historically low TV numbers. Game one was one of the lowest rated TV numbers in the modern era,
which is just incredible to me.
And I think but Famler, that's a really good point. This is the year where you no longer talk about LeBron, Steph, or Durant and any of the older generation as being linchpins to a championship team or even getting to conference finals.
Yep.
I think, and this is testing this theory that I have. And John, I don't know if you agree or not, but I don't think there's a face of the NBA right now. And I would say the same thing about the NHL. There's no transcendent Shohei Ohtani. The NBA doesn't have a transcendent star and this is the Victor problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting talking to an NBA guy the other day. He said, if Victor Wembanyama is so dominant, why are they not able to, A, keep him on the floor, and B, why are you trying to get Kevin Durant? Use up all of the equity that you have, because it is going to take multiple first-round picks for San Antonio to get Kevin Durant.
Totally.
Why are you going to do that when you traded for De'Aaron? You have VW. Why are you? How many is Victor going to go down low and play in the post? Because Kevin's not. You're going to give up an enormity when you already are supposed to have, this unbelievable talent in Victor, who raw, young, totally get it. You haven't been able to keep him healthy, and you haven't been able to contend for a playoff spot. And now you have De'Aaron and Victor with an entire summer, an entire season together this coming year. And are you going to wind up giving up more young players to get Durant? Because what's it going to cost you player-wise to get Durant? Vassell? You're going to give up a young player and a bunch of draft picks. And I just don't think it's worth it for San Antonio to do that. And then somebody's going to have to take it in the shorts and take Bradley Beal's contract.
Yes. Because
they're not trading Durant if they don't move Beal. And I don't know how you make that trade happen. I don't. Big Daddy Magic, I'm the guy that I'm not commenting about anymore who owns the league the next year. But you have no way to say that Victor Wembanyama is going to own the league. There's just no way to say that.
Yeah. It's harsh to say he's just a guy because he's got a bigger brand, obviously, than being just a guy. Like I would say he's a borderline household name. I think the NBA casual probably would recognize him on TV if they saw him. But I'm not so sure that an NBA casual would be that familiar with his game and how he plays to a point where they would be looking for him on the league pass or something like that. I think that the NBA, I know because I personally experience it. Like I'm experiencing this myself where I just don't care as much about the league right now because there's just not as much to care about. Like you don't have the LeBron Heat on Christmas Day. You don't have, the Westbrook Durant, Oklahoma City Thunder, on some big game, on some, appointment game or whatever. Like you just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't. The question really is how does the league get back on strong footing? And this is for another day. But the Michael Jordan on NBC situation, I think will help things, and I think it will help things that NBC is resurrecting the old music and the branding. I think that will help, but the league needs Cooper Flagg to be that dude. Man. Like they need that to happen.
Oak State James for $5. Okay, so if Monty is right, everyone I say is good has a bad year. Well,
I mean that's lived up to it.
Ollie Gordon, Oak State wide receivers, Oak State's defense, Oak State's offensive line, pretty much Oak State everything. Mike Gundy's a legend.
Do we want to look at TCU?
Haas Hengy. Now you say you're a TCU fan.
What about Preston Stone?
Preston Stone's cock. I mean,
Buddy didn't even see the field.
And then Jake Retzloff, who you said was going to be the dominant quarterback in the league. Then, like 3 days later, he gets accused of heinous sexual assault. I mean, you pretty much put the hex on people.
Just saying.
How great OU is. See, but you're doing it sarcastically. Sooners will win the SEC. Venables will be coach of the year.
Yeah, see what he did there?
Yeah.
If you felt these balls.
I mean, you can try. Wasikowski, Michael Jordan about to lose his NASCAR team. Well, the charter. He's not going to lose his team. He lost a lawsuit. So, but he's got Denny Hamlin on his side. So I'm sure there's a deal to be brokered. Monty, you were right. SGA is 6'6" and weighs 195 pounds. Kobe was 212. Jordan was 215. SGA needs 10 more pounds of muscle.
And he will.
But if you look at the way that, Kobe Bryant, when Kobe Bryant walked around, and again, it's an unfair bit of knowledge because I covered Kobe in his prime and saw his greatness. His 6'6" is very, very different. Is SGA 6'6" exactly?
Check. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think like Michael Jordan, again, having seen him in his prime.
Yeah, are we talking about Jordan pre-Jordan rules or post-Jordan rules?
No, I think in his prime, he was 220. He was, and Jordan is 6'6" on the dot. I can tell you that. I've listened to that introduction a million times. But what I would tell you is they were built very differently than SGA is. Those guys had incredible length, and SGA does not strike me as the same build length as those other guys.
Yeah.
So, watch the Jazz trade out of the 5 for more picks that Ainge will never convert to talent, but hooray picks.
We'll spend plenty of time talking about them,
The blowback on hiring Danny Ainge's kid has been significant. I think the shine is off of Ryan Smith, and he's going to have to prove that he can build a winner big time. James, I like you, but please never say anything about the Buffalo Bills or Victor or Rio Ripley or God bless you. And God bless you. Yeah. Keep his names out your mouth. I think the NBA needs more of these young stars to become league leaders. Cade Cunningham has the Cade is, and again, he's stuck in Detroit, so you don't see him very often. But I would think they would take a pretty big step, depending on what they do with the roster. But Cade Cunningham's a stud. Shea Wemby, I just don't know that If Victor Wembanyama becomes the best player in the NBA, is he on Ohtani's level? I don't know either. I don't know either.
I think what needs to be said is we're having two different conversations when it comes to Ohtani and Victor. Ohtani's the best baseball player the MLB has ever had, and the stats bore that out. Victor Wembanyama is not near the best player the NBA has ever had or seen. And
he's not even in that conversation.
And is only popular because of his body and because of what he looks like on TV, which is fine. I'm not criticizing him for that. But what I'm saying is you're talking about an all-time great already in Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani's a Hall of Famer today.
Gambling be damned. Versus a guy who's a physical freak that looks big on TV.
Yeah, I think it's very clear. Please hit the like button. A couple more, then we have to get rolling. The Spurs are going to win 60 games. The Bills are going to destroy every team in the AFC, and the Sooners will win the SEC. Okay.
That's out of the window.
The truth is spoken. You guys, amazing job in the comment section today. Thank you very much. As always, the Monty Show is presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Look it up, advocates.com, where you never pay a penny unless and until they win your case. I dare say what was it, John Washington? Jason Washington. Good to see you. Come back tomorrow. Comment some more, please.
On your third bot account.
Yes. Always a pleasure. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.